Fifth meeting between these programs back to 1959, and of course last year all that build up for Texas into Tom Herman's first game, and then the shocker as Maryland went into Austin and won it 51-41. Now year 2 under Tom Herman for the Horns, hoping to build off what wound up being their first winning season since Matt Brown. Off we go from Landover. Johnson from the goal line. And Ty Johnson to the sideline, taking it across the 30. That's where Maryland will begin. And the Terps have talked about how it's time to get back to focusing on the game, but that everything that they do, every play that they make, every snap they take is going to be in honor of McNair. And for this first play, you'll notice that the plan is to leave that right guard spot open. And they will take a delay of game. Texas on board with this will decline the penalty. A classy move by the Longhorns to be on board with it, and now they can get things going.
A tremendous show of sportsmanship by Texas, understanding what this Maryland team has been going through. One thing is of note, though, there was a quarterback battle. Kasim Hill is going to be the starting quarterback for Maryland in this game, but we may see Tyrell Pigram at some point, who had a big impact on last year's game in Austin.
And it is the redshirt freshman Hill as Maryland begins from the 33, and his first toss is knocked down. He took over during the Texas game late in the third quarter last year. 2.5 games, was very good before tearing his ACL game 3 against UCF.
Interim head coach and offensive coordinator Matt Canada talked about him being such a student of the game, and he felt like that was really the biggest determining factor between him and Tyrell Pigram. He's a little bit better passer, but just his full understanding of the offense.
And how about this task for Matt Canada, who's brought in as the first-year coordinator, now the interim head coach. No head coaching experience for him. Here's a handoff to Jacobs, who's got room off the left side for a Maryland first down, as the senior receiver runs for 10.
And you're going to see a lot of that throughout today's game. Motion, shifts, different personnel groupings and subbing. Kind of a throwback now seeing a team huddle in college football, but that's what Matt Canada brings. He's going to make the defense for Texas have to think about a lot before the snap of the football.
Hurry up to the line for this first down from the 46. Hill with a fake. Now dump it off. Ty Johnson gets met at the line of scrimmage and dropped by Devontae Davis, one of the 8 senior starters on this Texas defense.
Well defended by Texas. They were trying to set up what was essentially a screen. They're trying to get the ball behind the line of scrimmage to Ty Johnson, which allowed the wide receivers to block downfield. But Devontae Davis did a good job of keeping his leverage, staying to the outside, and was able to meet Ty Johnson for no gain.
And Maryland fans may be surprised to hear this after they put up 51 on Texas week 1 last year. But the Longhorns became one of the top defenses in the Big 12 as that season went on. Play action for Hill on second down. He's well protected. He has time to find Jacobs, who's got a first down and then some to the Texas 30 on a gain of 24.
This is the progression that you want to see in a young quarterback. Watch as Kasim Hill comes back. He goes through his progression, doesn't like what he sees downfield, but progresses to his number 3 option, the senior, Tavon Jacobs, for the big game.
And Jacobs, the only sure thing they've got at receiver. Of course, lost DJ Moore, who is the Big Ten Receiver of the Year for the NFL and the Carolina Panthers. First down and 10 from the 31. Or that motion. Hill to throw again. Into the flats he goes for Johnson. Angled out of bounds by P.J. Locke.
So much going on with this Maryland offense. They lined up in an unbalanced formation, which causes everyone on the Texas defense to have to communicate and realign. Then they motion, and then they all of a sudden run a little boot action. So again, a lot of the disguise and things that the Maryland offense likes to do to keep the Texas defense on their heels.
Opening drive of the season for the Terps, and on 2nd down and 7, it's a sweep play. And breaking free for the touchdown is Jay Sean Jones on his first touch as a Terp. Well, that's not a bad way to start your time as a college football player.
First game of the college football season, you never know what to expect, and that's a true freshman getting his first carry for a touchdown. How about that to start your career?
Another true freshman here in the kicker. Joseph Petrino knocks it through. Petrino will handle the kickoff duties as well. L.J. Humphrey signaling for the fair catch. And Texas will open its offensive season. Sam Ehlinger winning the starting job over Shane Buechele.
Went to Westlake High School in Texas, and there's a lot of notable alums there. Future Hall of Famer Drew Brees, Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP. He had more passing yards, touchdowns than all those guys. The things that makes him special, really working this offense, is he's a tough runner. They're going to incorporate him in the running game, but he's cool under pressure. When things start to break down, that's where sometimes he becomes dangerous.
As Texas fans know well by this point, grew up going to games, season tickets in his family, dreaming of being the Texas quarterback. And he got to for some of last season, getting an opportunity early on with Buechele's shoulder injury. And they went back and forth with the job, and he showed so many things that the Longhorn fans and his staff and his team are excited about. And a delay of game for Texas before they even run a play. 1st down 15.
Well, Colin Johnson, something was wrong, so he substituted out, and they had a late sub onto the field. Not sure what was going on there.
First Texas play of the season has Ehlinger throwing well behind his intended target, Brennan Eagles, and it's 2nd down 15.
A true freshman, and Eagles is actually who substituted in for Colin Johnson. So clearly not on the same page, and Colin Johnson they're hoping to be their big-time playmaker.
From the game due to an equipment violation.
Well, there you go.
We got it all going so far. Nice. And Colin Johnson back in here.
We're expecting a big year out of this young man.
Back-to-back throws in the hands of L.J. Humphrey. Able to step out of one tackle, but that's all. And Darnell Savage, the most experienced player on this Maryland defense, combines with Antoine Brooks.
And this is where the game's going to be won or lost for Texas on offense, is what they can do out on the perimeter. This is a staple of Tom Herman's offense, getting the ball to running backs and wide receivers on the outside. And if Maryland wants to stop them, Savage and the rest of the secondary is going to have to come up and make stops like that.
3rd and 15 for Ehlinger and the Texas offense. Ehlinger has time, lets it fly, but incomplete with Humphrey, the intended receiver. Now flag flies in. Rayvon Davis had the coverage and might get called for a drive-extending penalty here. Brad Van Vark, head referee this afternoon.
Holding defense number 2. That'll be a 10-yard penalty from the previous spot and an automatic 1st down.
And it was Rayvon Davis. He comes across with the motion man. That's little Jordan Humphrey. And at the very top of the route, as he grabs on right there, as Humphrey looks to get to the outside. Maybe ticky-tack, either way it was called.
Here's a flip to the freshman Deshaun Jamison, who's blown up in the backfield by Savage and Richardson.
There's a couple players for this Maryland defense that really pop off the screen. Darnell Savage is one of the number 4. He's not the biggest guy, but when he comes up, he brings every bit of his 200-pound frame into the tackle.
It makes it look like a whole lot more than 200 pounds, doesn't he? 3-year starter. Now the Newark Delaware makes it 2nd down and 12. The first design run is into the hands of the graduate transfer Trey Watson. They're straight ahead for a gain of 3. 3rd down 9.
This is where Texas struggled a season ago. Running the football was a combination of things. They didn't have Andrew Beck, their tight end. Their offensive line struggled at times, and they really didn't have a running back kind of take over. Sam Ehlinger ended up leading the team in rushing.
Another thing that they struggled with was pass protection. 3rd down. Able to convert one of them already thanks to the penalty. This 3rd and 9 out of an empty set against just a 4-man rush. Ehlinger time to scan. Underneath and incomplete. This time no flags as Tino Ellis knocks it away from Devin Duvernay. And it's 4th down.
And that was all the Maryland defense's coverage in that case. They're playing man underneath with 2 deep safeties. That's the toughest coverage to throw against if you're a quarterback. There's nowhere to go with the football. Next time when Sam Ehlinger gets in this situation, he's got to think about taking off and running the football, something that he excels at because there's no one responsible for him on defense.
Ryan Buchevsky on to punt it to Tavon Jacobs. Buchevsky with the tall task of replacing Michael Dixon, Ray Guy Award winner. And he hits a good one. Jacobs will take it from the 14. Maryland will begin its second possession from the 23.
A year ago.
Yeah, had 3 touchdowns in those 2 phases last year. Lorenzo Harrison is strung out to the sideline. Good job of that Texas defense on 1st down. Well, we touched on it during the first drive, but Matt Canada comes over as the offensive coordinator. It's going to be hard enough, right? Your first season running an offense, first season in a program. Now finds himself as the interim head coach and calling plays from the sideline for the first time in his career. That's out of the reach of Jarvis Davenport, and it's 3rd down.
And he's never done it before. He's practiced it. Talked to some of the staff before the game. They said it's a little different, though, when you're doing it in practice versus in a game. You really got to trust the eyes that you have up in the booth, and that is actually Dave Buchar, the guy he brought with him to coach the tight ends. Now he's trusting him with everything that he's seeing up in the booth and relaying it down to the field.
Said he needs that wall next to him, though. He likes having the wall to be able to punch when things don't go well. So look out if you're standing by Matt Canada today on the field. 3rd down and 12. Texas brings 4. Hill steps into it and has it complete near the sticks, but Devontae Davis is all over Tavon Jacobs, and it's 4th down and short.
Not many great play calls in 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, those longer situations. I can tell you this much, Devontae Davis is going to get a lot of work this season. Chris Boyd is one of the best cornerbacks, not only in the Big 12, probably the country. So Devontae Davis better be up to the task, in particular on 3rd down when he's in those one-on-one scenarios. He was right there.
This guy's our age, Brady, punting. Wade Lees is 30.
It's a mature punter.
That is a very mature punter. Australia native hits a line drive. It's taken into the 28-yard line and shifting his way into open space. And down the sideline for a heck of a return inside the 40 goes Brandon Jones.
Talked about one of the keys. They needed to create a spark. In this case, it's Brandon Jones on a punt return. Might have been a clip as you watch number 9, Colin Johnson, get a piece of Isaiah Davis. Wasn't called. Jones able to capitalize and give Texas some good field position.
With Jones return, the offense will start at the 39 in Maryland territory. First play this afternoon on Maryland's half of the field for Texas.
This is where look for that big target, number 6, one-on-one. If they get a shot, they'll throw it up to him on a fade for a touchdown in this area of the field.
6'6" Colin Johnson. Here's a shot. They've got Duvernay. He makes a leaping extended grab for the touchdown.
Sam Ehlinger feels like Antoine Brooks is one of the better defenders in the run and blitzing for Maryland, but not in coverage. He told me when he gets him one-on-one, he's going to take advantage. Just confirmed that he caught it with the layout, the extension. What a play by Duvernay.
The junior who Tim Beck, the offensive coordinator, said might have had the best camp of anybody on this roster. What a big freshman season. A little bit quiet last year as a sophomore. Hoping for big things from him. And they get some big things on the first touch of the season for Duvernay. Cameron Dicker's extra point. Ties it at center, sends it away, and Ty Johnson. And a nice return his first time. He's got another here. Maryland again. A nice starting field position as we look back at that touchdown strike.
Well, Maryland brought pressure on the bottom of this screen, and what that means is they've got one-on-one coverage up top, and that's the matchup that Sam Ehlinger likes. Antoine Brooks one-on-one with whoever it may be. In this case, Devin Duvernay. Ehlinger puts up a ball that is catchable. Duvernay does the rest. Incredible.
Nice job of hanging on to it as he went to the ground as well. Touchdown drive their first time out, then 3 and out. This drive begins with play action and an incompletion. It might have been tipped at the line of scrimmage. Malcolm Roach got his hand on it as he looked for Chig Okonkwo. Second down.
Biggest difference so far between the first 2 series for the Texas defense. The first series where Maryland drove down the field, they never had to face a third down. That was one of the best things Texas did last year defensively. Number 8 in the country. Last series, get them into 3rd and 12, much harder to convert.
On 2nd and 10, Hill steps into the pocket, floats one, sideline, and incomplete. Should have been intercepted by Chris Boyd. Instead, it's 3rd and 10.
And this was by design. Clearly, they want to incorporate some misdirection and try to take a shot, but you're playing with fire here. 9 times out of 10, Chris Boyd comes down with that. 15 pass breakups last year. He's got those sticky fingers. He likes to get his hands on the football.
Now, we've talked about the improvements for the Texas defense last year in Todd Orlando's first season, trying to build off of those numbers. Would have been markedly better if not for the opener against Maryland when they gave up the 51. 3rd and 10, Texas bringing pressure out of the secondary. Maryland beats it. Jason Jones, welcome to college football. This is going to come back, though. This is going to come back as he taunts his way into the end zone. It should be 2 touches as a collegiate and 2 touchdowns. Instead, 1 touchdown and 1 hard-learned lesson.
This is the immaturity that sometimes shows for some of those true freshmen when you put them into a big-time position like Maryland has done so far in this game. Texas gambled, though. Got him right where they wanted him. 3rd and 10. Brought up pressure. Todd Orlando's known for his blitz packages, but in this case, dropped line of communication, blown coverage.
There is no foul on the play for unsportsmanlike conduct. The result of the play is a touchdown.
He gets away with it, and so 2 touches and 2 touchdowns for Jones.
Let's take a look at that play, and clearly wide open, running down the middle of the field is Jones with no one around him.
Maryland back in front, 14-7.
How did Jason Jones get so far open? Well, Devontae Davis is down here at the bottom of the screen, that cornerback. He gets picked off. They run a little rub route, and that allows all this open space for Jason Jones, and Kasim Hill really does the rest. And you can see the alleged taunting, I guess we'll call it, at the end of that play since it didn't get called.
Humphrey to return this for Texas. L.J. Humphrey for the 29. Another college football season. That means Mike Pereira's back with us. Mike, our rules analyst in L.A. No taunting needed from you. What'd you see on this touchdown that they initially called it?
I only taunt Brady anyways, but I like this not being called that they picked it up, because you want to see a point, you want to see him hush, you want to do something when you're on your way to the end zone. And to call this taunting, which would have taken away the touchdown, because it's actually a spot foul in college football, I really think they made the right decision. I want to see something more than just turning around and looking. So I think that was a good call.
Good to hear, and good to hear from you, Mike. 14-7, Maryland in front. Texas takes over again, and here is their true freshman running back, Keontae Ingram, who's shut down at the line of scrimmage. Second down, and we check in with Bruce.
Joe, Kasim Hill using the leadership. He got over immediately when Jay Sean Jones got to the sideline and says, come on, man, use your head. Celebrate after you score, after. And I think the message was taken pretty well.
And he got an earful from Matt Canada before he even got to Hill. Second and 10. Ingram again. It's a guy that they are really excited about. True freshman from Carthage, Texas. He was an Under Armour All-American. Back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. Part of what will be a running back rotation early on this year.
The running back class for Texas this past year in recruiting, it was solid. But the problem they're having was with their offensive line. They're not getting enough movement up front. They didn't last year. They're not so far today versus Maryland.
Kyle Porter comes in for the first time on 3rd and 6. Ellinger in trouble, steps away from it, keeps his eyes downfield, and it's knocked down, 4th down. Darnell Savage all over the place in this first quarter, got his hand on it.
Well, it started with the pressure, something that Maryland really struggled with last season. Only 16 sacks in 12 games, and 9 of those came in the first couple games of the year. This year it's different. Jesse Annam-Bonham's back. You've got Byron Cowart coming from Auburn, a very highly touted recruit. And even though Ellinger gets outside the pocket, Savage is still there to knock the football down.
Kuchevsky. First career punt was a boomer. Jacobs back to return it. Look out! It almost got blocked. He's able to get it off. And it was their first top 25 win since 2010.
What about the fact that they didn't even score a point in this series until last year? They put up 51.
Previous play is under further review.
They're going to review something on this punt. Yeah, the score over the first 3 games between Maryland and Texas was 102-0 in favor of the Longhorns.
And Texas jumped out to a lead, and really Maryland then kind of battled back through adversity and jumped back out on them. Tyrell Pickering was really a big piece of that in the running game, as well as Ty Johnson. But then he gets hurt at the end of the game. Kasim Hill comes in. He takes over, does a good job. I think in that game, what got exposed was Texas' offensive line. The lack of a running game, lack of the ability to protect. In that game, Shane Buechele, but really for the rest of the season.
Not entirely sure what it is they're taking a look at here.
Probably for the spot, maybe where the ball went out of bounds. Not sure we should always review that, take up more of our viewers' time while this is going on.
And that's not even something that Mike Parra tells us is reviewable.
After review, the receiver caught the ball at the 21-yard line. The ball will be placed at the 21, first down.
He caught the ball out of bounds, which is odd. So I'm not sure why that matters so much. It would more be where the ball intersected with the sideline.
That is really odd.
You know, they're playing in a pro stadium, so the marking's a little bit different. Players have to deal with that. Maybe the officials are having to deal with that too.
RIL moves him back 5 yards, and into the game for the first time is Tyrell Pickering. No surprise. We figured that both quarterbacks would play at some point. Pickering more of a running threat. Yeah, that's what he does on first down for a gain of 7.
Matt Canada talked about playing both quarterbacks and really curtailing their package for each to accentuate what they do well. Pickering, a better runner, a little shiftier, more explosive than Hill. So expect him to run the football more. But when Kasim Hill's in the game, he can run the football too. A little more of a physical style runner.
Pigram was the starter for the Texas game last year and was having a great game before tearing his ACL late in the third quarter. Second down and 3. Ryan Cobbs on the sweep. That crunch just shy of the marker. Jeffrey McCulloch is making the start for Anthony Wheeler, with Wheeler out because of a targeting in the bowl game for the first half. He'll be back after halftime. They do give him enough for a Maryland first down.
We talked about to begin the game all the things that this Texas defense and defensive coordinator Todd Orlando has to deal with. Now a different quarterback with different tendencies.
Anthony McFarland, and again, stopped by Gary Johnson this time. McFarland, a redshirt freshman who was Maryland's top recruit a year ago, but he redshirted, still recovering from a really bad leg injury that he suffered as a high school senior. And before that, he was one of the top running back recruits in the country.
This is a very, very deep group here at Maryland. Matt Canada calls it the best he's ever been a part of. He was at Wisconsin with Monte Ball and James White, Logan Gordon. A lot of good running backs there, so that's saying a lot.
On second down, McFarland motions out. Pigram goes off the right side for a short gain. Put down by Gerald Wilbon. Third and short.
Texas has to battle the fact that they lost Poona Ford last year. Big 12 defensive lineman of the year. Incredibly impactful, in particular in these scenarios, and getting penetration and allowing guys like Omenahue and Hager to get to the quarterback.
On third down, down the sideline, Jacobs hangs on despite the big collision from Caden Stearns for a first down into Texas territory.
Unbelievable he was able to hang on to this football. As Jacobs widens, gets to the soft spot in the zone coverage, but Stearns, the true freshman, lays the boom. That's perfectly legal.
Outside they go for the first touch for DJ Turner.
See that number 1, it just brings you flashes of DJ Moore from a year ago, the first round pick to the Carolina Panthers, 24th overall. He was such a big time game maker. Tavon Jacobs is the guy that they're hoping will be able to step up into those big shoes left in Moore's departure.
And the other thing is, as Matt Canada told us yesterday, he wouldn't be surprised if the depth chart changed as the year went on with these freshmen that we've already seen make an impact in Jayshon Jones.
I think we'll get a little more playing time.
Yeah, 2 touches and 2 scores for him. Jacobs trying to get the edge, waits for his blocks to develop, and surges across the 40 where it'll be third down and short.
You're going to continue to keep seeing the shift before the snap of the football, then the motion, and that jet sweep action. It's so difficult to stop. And what it does is it forces the defense not only to have to communicate. One guy moves, all 11 have to communicate.
Officials time.
But then you're dealing with the fact that now you got to maintain your leverage with a moving target, a guy who could possibly be carrying the football and is able to get to the outside in open space.
Third down and 2. And a timeout. For the timeout, 3rd and 2 for the Terps. Here comes McFarland, and that play is blown up from the start. Great surge from the defensive line of Texas. And ultimately, it's a loss of a yard, so 4th and 3.
Just watch the line of scrimmage move. Watch these guys up front as they continue to move the line of scrimmage. Pushing the Maryland offensive line to the back. There's no hole, no daylight, nothing for McFarland to do. And so far, I wouldn't say it's a stalemate. I think Maryland's got the better of Texas so far, but right there was a clear example of Texas getting a win.
Punt team comes onto the field trying to pin him. Jones, a fair catch. Texas will start at the 8. Our first game break of the day. Back to Los Angeles with Sam Farber.
First and 10 from the 9-yard line.
How much do you expect Urban Meyer's absence to affect the Buckeyes' first 3 weeks?
Well, probably not the first two, but that third game versus TCU, definitely. On the road, top 25 ranked opponent, well-coached team by Gary Patterson. I think there will be some effect there.
From the 9-yard line. Texas down 14-7. Opening this drive with a run up the gut for Daniel Young for a gain of 2. Humphrey swings around the formation, and it's another straight up the middle run. And Young doesn't have a whole lot of room. Third down. It's a sophomore from Houston. Gets his first 2 touches of the season, and that's back-to-back tackles for Isaiah Davis.
A couple of years ago, you would call this Maryland defense maybe undersized. They didn't quite look like a Big Ten team. That's been the biggest transition for this team over the past few years. It's getting bigger, stronger, more stout up front, and we're seeing it here early on.
I guess part of it right there. Byron Cowart, transfer from Auburn. He'll try and apply some pressure on 3rd and 7. Ellinger steps up. He'll take off. He needs the 19. Won't get close. Antoine Brooks the tackle, and a 3-and-out for Texas.
Antoine Brooks so far has been all over the field. He's so active in stopping the run and pressuring. And you better believe when they get opportunities to have a spy, he's going to be the guy that's waiting for Sam Ellinger to get outside the pocket. You saw him get beat earlier in coverage. That's not his strength. But right now, Maryland's not putting him in that position. They're putting him in the box to stop the run and try to spy Ellinger.
Third punt of this first quarter for Bruchevsky. Last one was almost blocked. Jacobs a fair catch. And Maryland will begin to the 45 as we go down to Bruce.
Joe, as Matt Canada told us, offensive linemen Johnny Jordan and Ellis McKenney have really stepped up and become leaders in the wake of the Jordan McNair tragedy. McKennedy attended high school with McNair, and Jordan was his roommate at Maryland, and these two have been determined to make sure that legacy is carried forward. McNair's number 79 will be worn as a helmet sticker this season, and no player will wear that number again until after 2020, the year McNair would have graduated. His locker also will be encased in glass through that year, and the offensive line room at Cole Fieldhouse will be named in Jordan McNair's honor.
All right, Bruce. Kasim Hill back into the game at quarterback after a series for Pigram. 45-yard line, off play action on first down. Hill lets it fly into a tight window, but behind Jake Funk, who is defended by Brandon Jones. There's a flag down back around where the ball was let go.
This may be a late hit on Charles Amenahue, number 90 for Texas.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 90. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
As Hill stepped up in the pocket, number 90 continued to pursue. You see right there, ball's out clearly after the throw. This is where a senior for this Texas defense has to be cognizant of the fact that, you know, Maryland already has good field position. They're already up in this game right now. You can't afford to make these sorts of mistakes.
Senior and one who's played a lot. 3rd year with time as a starter. So first down from the 40. DJ Turner taking the fake. Johnson taking the ball. A short game.
There's just so much action going on before the snap of the football, and you know, typically a defense is going to adjust, and when they don't, Matt Canada and his staff are saying, okay, these are the looks, these are the things that we can run out of this, because they're not adjusting to the shifts and motions that we're presenting them.
Turner in the flat makes Johnson miss, but stepped on the sideline, and a flag comes in.
And this might be one they pick up again if they're thinking that that player heard the whistle. I mean, it was tough to tell whether or not he stepped out.
There is no foul on the play for unnecessary roughness. The result of the play is a completed pass, 3rd down.
And that would be tough, you know, for any player out there. You're playing full speed. You don't know whether or not he stepped out of bounds, and I can promise you this, you almost rarely ever hear the whistle. You look how close that is. And Davis doesn't have any clue whether or not he stepped out. He's got to keep playing through to make sure he doesn't get any further upfield.
A nice job by the officials to get it right. 3rd down and 8 for the Terps late in this first quarter. Under pressure, stands in. It's a fluttering duck. Jacobs came back to it, and a flag. Davis was beaten, and in trying to recover, runs over Jacobs. Drawn several flags.
And the key there why they are going to get the call is because Jacobs stopped, turned, tried to come back to the football, and Davis impeded his ability to do so. Well, that ball felt like it was up in the air forever.
Sure did.
Pass interference, defense, number 10, 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic 1st down.
Second penalty of the drive on Texas.
And they're going to bring a 6-man pressure. Gary Johnson finds his way through and gets to Hill just at the end of the throw.
Correct.
And if Davis can get there sooner and not make as much contact, you can find the football quicker. Maybe he makes a play on it, but at a minimum, there's not going to be the pass interference penalty, the bigger part, the 1st down.
Instead, 23-yard line. Plenty more pre-snap movement. 1st down and 10. They find another source off the left side. That is Tayon Fleet Davis, his first touch of the game, and they're spreading it around. They've had 8 different players carry the football over the first quarter of the season. Tyrell Pigram comes back into the game at quarterback as they continue to go back and forth with he and Kasim Hill. On 2nd down, Pigram looking end zone, floating one off of the fingertips of Edwards. We've gotten a step. Couldn't quite haul it in, and it's 3rd and 9.
Matt Canada trying to get sneaky, trying to get Mr. Edwards the football, and you can see as they move the pocket, they're hoping Edwards gets caught up in the mix. And you got Gary Johnson with his eyes caught in the backfield. Just too much on this football. Saw Jones with the extension earlier, Duvernay for Texas. In this case, it's Edwards. But this is the difference in this Maryland team. They didn't have the ability to throw to tight ends like they have so far today.
Hill back in for 3rd and 9. Steps into a collapsing pocket with a flag down. He'll run for a 1st down and then get absolutely unloaded on. His helmet gets knocked off. First of all, this is going to come back likely for a holding, but what is the verdict going to be at the end of the play?
It looked like it might have been Damian Prince, the right tackle for Maryland, would be guilty of the hold. As you noted, we'll see what happens at the end of this play.
No flag at this point. At least from that. Flag came in the backfield.
The one thing you got to like about the Big Ten officials so far here today is they're doing a good job of coming together, Big 12, coming together and talking about a lot of what's going on. At least they're discussing, trying to get multiple vantage points for what they saw.
Sorting through things, and here's Brad Van
There are
Vark.
2 fouls on the play.
Yeah.
Holding, offense number 58, personal foul with targeting on the defense. Those fouls will offset. The previous play is under further review.
That's Gary Johnson, and they are already very thin at linebacker.
We'll start off with the holding call. Here's big Damian Prince at the right tackle spot. He's working against Taquan Graham, and as Graham gets that right arm back inside, you can see his hand on the back. They're going to call that every time. And here's the end of the play where we look at the targeting from Gary Johnson. And look, clearly, this is what we're trying to remove from the game of football at the college and NFL level. Quarterback giving himself up, he's considered defenseless, and on top of that, he's forcibly going at the head and neck area.
And you may say, well, he slid into it, but the onus is on the tackler to still avoid it. Mike Pereira, what do you see on this one?
Well, it is targeting, and the reason it is to me is because when a runner slides like that, the play basically is over when he starts his slide, and he is also considered defenseless. So you cannot go to the head or neck area, even if it's not helmet. Shoulder, forearm, arm, wrist, you can't go to the head or neck area. So to me, this will be targeting. He will be ejected. Regardless, the penalties are going to offset. Because they're both live ball fouls, but I think you will see the player disqualified from the game for targeting.
And the big loss for the Texas defense is the fact that that's Gary Johnson, who replaced Malik Jefferson from a year ago. It was a tackling machine for this defense, asked to do a lot of different things, and they have high hopes for Gary Johnson and his impact on this game.
After review, the foul for targeting against number 33 of Texas is confirmed. Number 33 will be disqualified from the game. The penalties offset will replay third down.
Boy, you said it's significant injury for Texas. If you look through the roster, break it down by position groups, the one where they can ill afford to lose anybody else was linebacker.
And you've already got Anthony Wheeler sitting out for the first half of this game. They'll get him back in the second half. That's two seniors. This defense is going to have to get to halftime without.
So Johnson ejected, and again, the penalties on that play offset. We'll do the 3rd and 9 again.
I suspect they'll continue to work on Devontae Davis and Tavon Jacobs in the passing game.
Waiting for Johnson to leave the field.
It's a long walk from that side when you've got to exit out this tunnel.
He's gone now. And we can do the 3rd and 9. Texas bringing pressure. Flushing Hill, who throws to the sideline and has a complete. And Brandon Jones pushing DJ Turner out. But it is 4th down.
Interesting play call to dial something up that you knew was going to be short of the sticks. They motioned DJ Turner across the formation to ensure that he had a bit of a cushion from his defender, in that case Brandon Jones, but only a 5-yard route. Kind of surprised they didn't go further for the sticks.
Joseph Petrino, first collegiate attempt. True freshman from Richmond Hill, Georgia. This from 33, and it is right down the middle. Had a great camp. Matt Canada said he just hopes that he continues it into the real thing. And once LJ Humphrey from inside his own 5. Cuts it against the grain. Able to stay on his feet. And gets dragged down from behind around the 30. We again check in with Sam Farber for a game break. Thanks to Sam for that. David Buster's game break. Early on 2nd quarter. Sam Ellinger and the Texas offense. Not a whole lot going so far. Open this drive with a straight drop back. Ellinger scans the field into 1-on-1. That's incomplete with a coverage from Lewis. Intended receiver Colin Johnson. You know, Brady, they had the 39-yard touchdown on the first play of the 2nd drive. Other than that, 12 plays, 10 yards.
Well, the biggest issue right now is they've been 0 for 3 on 3rd down. You talked about that big play. It was on 1st down. Besides that, they haven't been within 3rd and manageable.
Watson spins out of the initial tackle and gets 4. 3rd down. 0 for 3 so far this afternoon on 3rd down. Maryland rushes only 4. Ellinger steps into a collapsing pocket and goes down. Even with the 4-man rush, they're able to get home. It was Kieron Howard with the sack and 4th down.
And this is the difference between last year and this year's Maryland defense. They can get home with just 4. Check out the push you get from the interior guys. They run a little game there, a TT stunt as they call it, and there's just nowhere for Sam Ellinger to go with the football. It's in part coverage, but they also have the guys to push the pocket and to get around the edge to suffocate their opposing quarterback.
Another punt for Buchevsky, and again it is nearly blocked, but a flag flies. Let's see if it's roughing or running into the kicker. They brought Jayshon Jones, who's been everywhere. There's a speedster off of the edge to try and do it.
He's had a couple opportunities so far today. Texas better make some adjustments on special teams to the rush that Maryland's bringing.
A lot of flags to sort through, making it feel just like week 1. Kind of expect this first week.
Interesting, the laces were down on that football.
Running into the kicker. Defense number 5. 5-yard penalty. Replay 4th down.
And it doesn't have as much to do with how hard the collision is as it does which leg he contacts, because it's the kicking leg. It typically leads to running into the kicker. If you get the plant leg, that's when you're in trouble. But it is running into the kicker, and it is still 4th down. Buchevsky, not just the punter replacing Michael Dixon, not just also from Australia, but actually Dixon's cousin. Went to the same punting academy there. This one not a good one. Just 34 yards. And more extracurriculars. Yeah, we can't get through a play without flags flying at this point.
And that's Bryce Brandon, true freshman B.J. Foster from Texas. We talked about it. We're hitting each other all camp. You kind of get excited to finally go up against someone else.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 25 of Maryland. That 15-yard penalty will be at the end of the run. 1st down, Maryland.
So that moves the start of the drive back inside their own 20, and this is what drew it.
Yeah, right here on this part of your screen, that's Antron Brooks. They're shoving right there. That's what's going to get the penalty. Plays dead, whistle's blown, no need for it. He's obviously had himself quite the day defensively, with the exception of maybe one play. That's an upperclassman making a rookie mistake, if you will.
16-yard line for Maryland. He's controlled the ball for 2/3 of this game. Getting a pair of touchdowns from the freshman Jayshon Jones, who's the motion man on his 1st down play, and Lorenzo Harrison hit in the backfield and dropped for a loss of 1. Charles Amenahu with a tackle for Texas. Brandon Jones in there as well. On 2nd and 10. Hill zips one for a 1st down to DJ Turner to the Texas 30 on a pickup of 13.
Boy, he had a lot of revolutions on that one. Texas played a zone coverage, found the soft spot, and he was able to fit it in the window.
Quickly on the ball, they get rid of it to Turner again, who's able to break out of a tackle from Locke to get back near the line of scrimmage.
Maryland will mix up tempo. They'll mix up times they'll huddle. They'll shorten muddle huddle. Sometimes they'll just do a wholesale change in personnel.
You know, first game of a new offensive coordinator sure doesn't look like it, does it?
No. This team so far has operated at a really high level for all the ask out of their players before they even have to run the play.
2nd and 9 for the Terps. Here's Fleet Davis for a gain of 3 or 4. Devontae Davis with the tackle. It's already 5 for him. They're slow getting up.
Injury timeout.
Senior out of Miami, Florida. Booker T. Washington High School. He's come a long way. The way he's been able to become a starter at Texas. It's a big collision. Your cornerback typically not mixing quite as much in the run game, but that's part of the design of the jet sweep. You're trying to get your ball carriers the ball to the outside against guys who are really there for their coverage skills. Good to see him be able to get up under his own power.
Tom Herman, whose Texas tenure started with the shocking loss to Maryland last year, 51-41. Season 2 through a quarter plus, not off to a better start. Trailing 17-7. Trying to build off of what became a positive season last year. 7-6, first winning season since Matt Brown. 3rd and 6 for Maryland. Texas with 9 men standing. They bring 4. Here's a throw to the sideline that's pulled in. Brian Cobbs, another freshman, climbs the ladder to extend the drive on a gain of 13.
The future is bright for this wide receiver group at Maryland with this true freshman. Ball was thrown on time but off target, and Cobbs makes the adjustment for the conversion.
Turner to the short side. It's a couple of good blocks. Surges forward for 7. Doesn't look like much to begin, but boy, before there's anybody close to him, he was already 5 yards downfield.
And credit running back Lorenzo Harrison. He paved the way being the lead blocker. Just a flurry of different things coming at you right now. Now you got empty.
With quads to the top. That's out of Turner's hands. Tried to use the 3 other receivers to set up blocks for him. It'll be 3rd and 3.
But because of the success on first down, and I think when Maryland's had success on offense, it's been that. They've been productive early, and it puts them in these more 3rd and manageable scenarios. This is where defensive coordinator Todd Orlando can't tee off on you like we saw earlier in today's game when Maryland hasn't been able to convert on 3rd down.
So Devontae Davis, who just left the game with the injury timeout, headed to the locker room. Already have Anthony Wheeler and Gary Johnson there. 3rd down. Harrison can't hang on. Knocked away by Chris Boyd. And it's 4th and 3.
And typically when you see a starter go out, you go ahead and attack his replacement, Kobe Boyce, on the other side of the field. But in that time, they're trying to essentially set up a pick out of the backfield to get Harrison the football. Boyd wasn't fooled.
Jones had a long return, first time. Wade Lees. High end over end kick into the corner with a nice bounce. Wade Lees, well done, to the 5-yard line. 17-7 here early on in the 2nd quarter. Maryland in front of Texas. And for the 2nd time today, the Horns started inside their own 10.
This is where it's pivotal. You've got to be able to run the football this part of the field.
Feed it to their biggest running back, Daniel Young, who lost 2 yards. Antoine Brooks with a tackle, and Bruce Feldman. This Maryland defense has been impressive so far.
They have, Joe. And with DJ Durkin away from the team, it's really worth noting that he was heavily involved in running the defense along with defensive coordinator Andy Boo. The guy I'm told who has really stepped up here has been linebacker coach Matt Barnes, who's become way more involved in running the defense and also kind of handling it on the sideline.
And it's a defense, Bruce, that a year ago was last in the Big Ten. 37 points per game. They come up with another stop here. It is Brooks again, and it's 3rd and 10.
I mean, at this point, you obviously want to try to convert, but given out where you're at in the field, you also just want to give your punter some room to punt the football. And at this point, he's going to be standing at the back of the end zone. Here's Sam Ehlinger. Be careful with the football. Get what you can. Preserve the right to punt. Don't compound and make a big mistake.
Ehlinger out of his own end zone. Scrambling and throwing right to the sticks. Standing to catch it is Johnson. We'll see where they spot it.
This is going to be interesting because his feet were at the sticks and it looked like he had enough for the conversion, but where he caught the football and where it was when he went out of bounds looked short.
And they've actually just now said that the ruling is incomplete.
Yes, clearly wasn't able to get a foot in and even maintain possession of the football as the ball hits the ground. That's the guy I was really looking for at Texas coming into the game with his size and his ability. Colin Johnson, 6'6", 220 pounds. That guy's got to be able to take off and be a game changer for this Texas offense.
You're going to take a look at this. As it stands right now, Sam Ehlinger 2 for 7 in this first half for just 39 yards. 29 of those 39 coming on the long touchdown to Duvernay.
You know, 2 issues here. One is his foot goes out of bounds. I'm not really sure why you're reviewing it from that perspective. And then the other portion is, you know, as he goes down to the ground, it looks like the ball hits the ground. Seems pretty clear cut. I don't know that there's going to be anything definitive there to overturn the call. That mustache on Shane Buechele.
Solid.
You see that thing?
Statement.
Look at that thing.
Clean.
Gotta wonder what he's thinking right now, right? Had a quarterback battle. They named Sam Ehlinger a starting quarterback. Things aren't going so well in the passing game where Shane Buechele excels. Not as athletic, but can still get the job done. Probably the more accurate of the 2 quarterbacks. Veteran of the 2, so I wonder when, you know, those quarterback competitions, if they're lingering into the season.
Buechele, of course, started as a true freshman 2 years ago and then opened last year as the starter before they toggled back and forth.
After review, the ruling on the field stands as called. Incomplete pass. 4th down.
As it kind of figured.
4th and 10 from the 5.
Look at this little room there. Buchevsky's. I mean, there's just nowhere to go. He's got to go forward with the football.
Here's Jones coming off of the edge again, this time laid off, and it is not a good one. Whoa, that is not good at all. Where are they going to spot it? Still coming to the 20-yard line.
JC, you stay right here.
A 15-yard punt for Buchevsky.
This is what happens when you've got a true freshman punter who's standing backed up, right? Those guys don't feel comfortable back there. And this ball looks like it just hits on the outside of his foot, a little too high. And with the pressure that Maryland has gotten on Buchevsky so far today, you got to wonder if that's factoring in the back of his mind as well.
Texas fans already came into the year missing Michael Dixon. Now with the Seattle Seahawks, Buchevsky's not done much to make those feelings go away in this first half. So the drive begins at the Texas 20. And on a sweep, it's Jayshon Jones, and he can pass! Touchdown, Jacobs!
Who knew? And this guy can do it all. He can run, he can catch, and apparently he can throw. They've run the jet sweep so often today, kind of lulls you to sleep. And all your attention is on trying to stop Jayshon Jones now from hitting you with a big play. And then you turn loose Tavon Jacobs, who's working on Kobe Boyce. Remember, Devontae Davis injured out right now. Tough call for a guy coming in who's a redshirt freshman to replace him.
Texas defense without 3 starters at this point. Wheeler will return for the second half after sitting out this first half because of the targeting in the bowl game last year. Johnson thrown out for targeting. And who knows Davis as far as his status with the injury moving forward. All Terps so far in Landover. Way through this second quarter. As a Texas true freshman, Deshaun Jamison takes it from the 5 and has room to the left side with a couple of blockers in front. Got tripped up crossing the 30. First 2 touches as a college football player are touchdowns for Jayshon Jones, and then he obviously makes another touch, a touchdown pass.
Product of the jet sweep first, the long run. Kind of surprising everyone. True freshman, haven't seen this guy on film. And then he gets a nice little rub route and is free, and there's nothing but between him and the end zone. And then finally the jet sweep. Everyone on Texas is thinking about it from earlier in the game. This time pulls it back, throws a touchdown pass to Tavon Jacobs.
Texas trying to get things going offensively. And a nice first down run for Trey Watson.
All that's occurred, and there's still 8 minutes left in the second quarter.
Jeez, you are right about that.
Look at that. Stephon Diggs, he's not too bad, right?
Good name. Watson again, first down. Transfer from Cal. It was really big-time player for the Golden Bears. More than 2,400 all-purpose yards during his career there. 3 consecutive carries for Watson. This one bounces to the outside, and he accelerates into Maryland territory.
And look at the tempo. You know, clearly Texas said on their sidelines, let's speed things up. Let's impose our will on our offensive line that they feel like can handle this Maryland defensive front. Let's see if we can wear them down.
On second down, Ellinger steps up, lets it fly, and has a wide open Humphrey for a first down inside the 25.
Spoke with Sam Ellinger before this game. He said little Jordan Humphrey is his best friend. That's his go-to target. That time found his buddy in the soft spot of the zone coverage from Maryland.
This tempo is helping Texas put together its first sustained drive of the game. On first down from the 22, it's Ingram bouncing his way into the clear. Ingram inside the 10, and it's first and goal for Texas.
Maryland looked like they were going to bring a blitz from the edge. Ellinger changed the play. That's the growth you're looking for if you're Texas, and when to run the football the opposite way.
Back to Ingram, who's got his first collegiate touchdown.
Same exact play. The difference, Ingram's vision. Watch this left side of the offensive line. They wash everything down from Maryland. Ingram has the vision to hit the cutback. And that's thanks to Cade Brewer, their tight end, where a year ago, they didn't feel like they had the ability to block at the tight end position well enough to help them in the running game. They do now.
A drive that Texas badly needed. Johnson will take a knee. Maryland to begin at the 25-yard line.
It's both Ingram and Watson went to the sideline after the touchdown. They were trying to fire up the defense and fire up their teammates. Sometimes, even though it's the first game of the college football season for you, playing on the road, early start, just being in Central Time Zone, sometimes you can kind of take a while to really get up for the moment.
Johnson straight ahead for a short game. You know, we've touched on this a couple times, but Texas defense last year was one of the best in the country when you take out the stats of that game against Maryland. Even with that game, they're pretty darn good, but 51 points that they allowed in that opener. They grew a ton from there.
I think that was the biggest question for this defense coming into the season. Losing Kuna Ford, losing Malik Jefferson, Deshaun Elliott, Holton Hill, all those key figures. You know, how would they respond? How would the guys stepping up into their shoes perform?
Second down, dumped off. Johnson, first down, flag flies.
This might be coming back. Looked like it could have been a hold on number 1, DJ Turner for Maryland. I think his hand was just on the outside, the Texas defender.
Holding offense number 12.
There you go.
That 10-yard
Jacobs.
penalty will be from the spot of the foul. Replay second down.
See him right on the right-hand side of your screen. You can see him grabbing onto some jersey. Boy's trying to pull away, and the official is able to see that from behind, that separation, and the offensive player holding on. Somewhat of an easy call.
7 flag total in this game. Feels like it's been like 30. Second down and 9 inside the 6-minute mark of this first half, and they set up a screen to Jacobs, who gets belted. B.J. Foster, true freshman out of that secondary for Texas, makes it third down.
He sniffed that out right from the get-go. That's why they're so excited about him. Those football instincts to see those sorts of screens before they happen.
3rd and 6. Hill looking wide side, and he throws it to the sticks, but it's dropped by Davenport. And Texas with a nice response after the long touchdown drive to force the punt.
When the sun's coming out, both teams are starting to look a little bit gassed. And that's obviously something that you try to prepare for all you can in the summer months, June, July, into August. Nothing is going to simulate the intensity that you have in the course of a game and how that affects your conditioning.
Pleased to punt it. Jones sheds the first 2. Can't get away from there. So back comes this Texas offense with Sam Ellinger. And you know that 6.5-year run where they were in such good hands, right? 2.5 years of Vince Young as the starter. And Colt McCoy, 4-year starter. You know, Brady, in the 8 years since then, they've had 7 different starting quarterbacks.
It's crazy to think about that. And Colt McCoy, who's sitting up there next to us in the booth, I mean, he's the guy they're trying to find again. Him or Vince Young, whichever one you're looking at. I mean, they're trying to replicate that sort of production from the quarterback position, and they just haven't been able to find it.
Hoping maybe they can with this guy. Sophomore from Austin. And they got a false start before the drive begins.
It's not all in the quarterback position.
False start. Offense number 47. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
It's the senior Andrew Beck, captain of the team. They're so excited to have back. But you know, it's also the offensive line struggles. It's been offensive coordinators and the turnover through the years, obviously, especially through the Charlie Strong era.
Low snap. Ellinger picks it up, hands it off to Watson. Got things going on that last drive. Here he gets 3.
I think the hard part for any quarterback, when you don't have a running game, makes things a lot more difficult when you're put in 3rd and long scenarios, and you've got to just win the game with your arm, especially versus a Maryland defense that's got an improved pass rush this year. And they've got the coverage players on the outside, with the exception of really one play where Brooks got beat. They've done a good job on the outside.
Empty it out for 2nd and 12. Maryland showing pressure against it. They bring 5. And over the middle, the tight end, Cade Brewer, has a first down. Back from his torn ACL late last season. He's got a gain of 13.
And that's a huge confidence booster for Sam Ehlinger. Nothing's really come easy for him in the passing game. Short, easy completion over the football for a first down.
Option play. Ingram on the edge. Couple of blocks. Cuts it back. And brought down by Trey Watson. Yes, there's a Trey Watson on both teams. Both of them first year of action after transferring in. Watson came over from Illinois.
Watson on Watson crime, man.
That's it. 2nd and 2. Ingram again gets close to a first down. And they do spot him with enough.
One of the questions talking to interim head coach Matt Canada was the conditioning of his team. With everything they've been through in the summertime, they lost a lot of that time to spend with their players and keep them in shape. You wonder how that's going to impact them the rest of this half and in the second half.
Ehlinger down the seam. Humphrey with the adjustment to catch it over Watson. L.J. Humphrey having a good afternoon, and he's got a gain of 25.
This is what happens when you've got a clean pocket. Offensive line coach Herb Hand said this is the best this offensive line has played in quite some time at Texas. Look at Humphrey go up, snatch the football. Perfect placement, but better catch by Humphrey.
That's what they wanted. They wanted Ehlinger to trust the size of those receivers. Here comes a trick play. The freshman Jamison. Maryland reads it perfectly, and Darnell Savage is all over it for a loss of 4.
Can't say enough about watching Darnell Savage on film. Every game, he makes a play. He does something that it's just uncharacteristic of a guy at this level, being able to read and sense what's going on and what an offense is trying to do. He's a special player.
Closing minutes of this first half, and on 2nd and 14, facing pressure, they dump it off to Ingram. And he's crunched after a gain of 5 by Nick Underwood. 3rd and 10 for Texas.
And this is where, if you're able to get a first down here, you got to start thinking about the clock now as we approach the 2-minute mark. You got a few timeouts to work with, so plenty of time, but some to be cognizant of. And you don't want to leave Maryland with the football at the end. You'd like to end the half with points on your side. Colin Johnson get involved. That's what I'm waiting for.
Top of the screen. 3rd down 11. Pressure with just a 3-man rush. Ehlinger strung out and thrown out of bounds. MB Tanyi. The helmet came off, but no flag. 4th down.
And clouded the coverage to that side. Tanyi at the very end looks like he gets around the helmet of Ehlinger.
Clean.
That's not going to force any sort of penalty there. And typically, it's a horse collar, something of that nature, grabbing the back of the collar of the player or the nameplate.
And Mike Pereira, our rules analyst, confirms that that's the right call. Buchevsky trying to make a better most recent memory after his 15-yard punt set Maryland up for its most recent touchdown. A clock issue right now, it looks like. Waiting for that to get reset. Thank you, Brent says.
Probably not surprised if they take a delay a game or utilize one of their timeouts. But sometimes when you're this close, you want a little bit more room actually for the punter. The difference between a gap wedge, pitching wedge, you're in between clubs. You go move back to that full club.
Let it rip.
On the kicking team, 5-yard penalty, go forward.
It's always cool playing at an NFL stadium, but one of the things, and I've played it before with the Cleveland Browns, is it's hard to find the play clocks. They're at the low ends of the end zone. Sometimes people in the media and all that are blocking them, the cameramen.
Those media people. Who would have thought you'd become one day? Jeffsy waits for the coverage team to get down there. Lands it inside the 10. Well done by Buchevsky to come back from his rough previous outing. Down at the 2. Jeshaun Jones, how good has this debut been? First freshman with a touchdown run, catch, and pass in one game since Marcus Mariota 2012. Jeshaun does it in his very first.
The Maryland fans are accustomed to seeing number 6 have a bunch of production for this team. Almost Ty Johnson's old number. Went back to his high school number 24. That's one of the changes they made during the course of the offseason. So Jeshaun Jones gladly accepted that number 6 jersey. Maybe there's some in the stands, excuse me, before he even got here.
Ty Johnson may be asking for it back after today. There's something special in that 6. It's mine now. In the shadow of their own end zone here, a loss of 1 on a first down carry for Ty Johnson. As actually Fleet Davis. Timeout for Texas.
Got Hager down on the ground right now. One of the seniors, their captains, rely so heavily on now. Big change and transition for him over the course of his career at Texas.
Kind of Texas football royalty. Brecken Hager is. All-time leading tackler, Britt Hager, is his dad. Played in the late 80s before a long NFL career. Brecken, one of 4 brothers that has played in college.
Talking with their head coach, Tom Herman, he said, you know, the stories of him when we first got here and from where he was to where he's at now is dramatic. And he's really taken on a leadership role. Not so sure people took him as serious at the beginning. He's got this big, long head of hair. There's a story behind that, right? And this is where, you know, he wanted to grow it out because he said, I'm not going to cut it until we win a Big 12 championship. And that's why it's so long at this point. I mean, those are his goals and aspirations. And to the point now where he hates it. And it's a daily reminder for him to motivate him every day of what he wants to accomplish before he leaves Austin.
Leaves the field here on second down. Fleet Davis again, and he loses a yard again. Chris Nelson, and Texas will use another timeout. Coming up at halftime, stay tuned for Rob Stone, Dave Lonstadt, Matt Leinart, Robert Smith, State Farm halftime show. Scott Frost era beginning in Lincoln. They are fired up for that, aren't they?
They are, and I think they're going to make strides this year, but I would probably temper that excitement a little bit. I mean, Nebraska's got to close the gap, in particular on the top team in the Big Ten West, and that's Wisconsin. And, you know, I think they're a decent ways away. I mean, they can make a jump like Purdue's made with Jeff Brom. Even though they didn't win week 1 versus Northwestern, they're close, and I think you can see they're right on the cusp of being able to be one of those more competitive teams in the Big Ten in general. For Texas right here, they've got an opportunity, though. They can get a stop, potentially force a punt. We talked about the keys in the game earlier. You know, this is big for them. Last time they were able to score a deep touchdown pass, it was really helped out by a punt return. Now they've got the potential to back up Maryland on the punt if they get a stop.
Third down and 11 from Maryland's own 2-yard line. It's put on the ground and a safety off of the hip of Jake Funk, and Texas with a break that it needs. And they'll get the ball with 1:27.
And a timeout. And this is one of the drawbacks of running that jet sweep is you've got to be able to time up the motion. And when you've got all the different action going on, it becomes difficult with some of the ball handling. And they're trying to time it up so you get it to the carrier when he's at full speed passing by you to give him the best chance to get to the outside. In this case, Kasim Hill doesn't really get into the belly, more on the side of Funk. There's Jeffrey McCullough to take advantage. And this is what we talked about, key to the game. Special teams, defense, create some big-time plays. Hopefully this is able to spark something for the Texas offense.
Which is about to get the ball here, and will get the ball to open the second half. McCullough gets credit for being the guy on top of it as Funk and Hill. The bad exchange on the jet sweep. That goes to Sean Jamison. The punter leaves. Spiraling punt out of bounds. Bringing a flag. It's not the same on a kickoff, Wade.
It's one of those reminders I'm sure he needs.
Illegal kick out of bounds on the kicking team. Texas has elected to place the ball at the 50-yard line by rule. First down.
So from the 50-yard line with 1:27 left to go in this first half, this game's turned on a dime potentially with what it was looking like for Texas.
That's what you got to love about college football, though. The momentum swings throughout the course of the game. How do teams respond to that? See how Texas decides to move the ball down the field and get some more points. Little Jordan Humphreys been Ellinger's favorite target so far. Duvernay with a big catch earlier. When does Johnson get involved?
Split to the top of the screen on 1st and 10. Ellinger steps into the pocket and takes off. There's a flag down as Ellinger gets first down yardage.
Holding offense number 56. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
That's the center, Zach Shackelford.
And that's one of the biggest no-nos you can't afford to have, especially under 2 minutes trying to drive. There he is. He just gets that hand to the outside, and as Ellinger continues to look downfield, there was a ton there, but
first down and long. Ellinger with a spot-on strike to Gerard Hurd. Converted quarterback with his first catch of the season for a gain of 18.
Nice response from Ellinger. But the first play felt like he had a couple guys open, decided not to take that throw and instead run. But when he sticks with the system and his progressions, that's when he becomes dangerous.
Inside of 50 seconds now. Went for Hurd again, but a high throw. 3rd and 3.
How about the transition Gerard Hurd has made, though, from quarterback to wide receiver for Texas? He was the #1 dual threat quarterback coming out his year in high school. You know who's #2? Deshaun Watson.
Huh.
That's how good he was, and he's decided to take on this role now, and I think he's done a pretty darn good job of adjusting. Ellinger has got to give him a better ball next time.
Well, this is a spot that has kept Maryland or kept Texas from gaining much momentum offensively in this first half. 0 for 6 on 3rd down. Ellinger with room to run for a first down. Their first conversion of this game. A run of 16 yards.
When you play man-to-man coverage, everyone's got their back to the quarterback trailing the receiver. That opens up running lanes for the quarterback, and if you don't have a spy, that's where Sam Ellinger can hurt you.
Clock runs again with the ball set. Still one timeout for Texas. First down and 10. Ellinger stands in, dumps it off. Kyle Porter, and here will come their first timeout, or their last timeout.
Now, you can get a couple plays in here, all right? You're taking your last timeout. So you got 24 seconds left, but you can throw the ball in the field. It doesn't necessarily have to be the sideline or the end zone. You can throw it short and try to run it in. Now the key is, if you get tackled inbounds, right, at some point that clock's going to start, whether it's short of the first down or not, right? Once they reset the chains, you've got to then spike it. So you've got to organize all of that. So right now, Tom Herman and his staff, they're talking about that scenario, and they're probably saying, depending on the play call, there's a couple options. You got the field goal team potentially ready on the sideline, but they're going to throw something with the potential of a clock. That's what they're going to say in the huddle after the play, if indeed it's not a touchdown or out of bounds.
For Sam Ehlinger, started this game 2 for 7. He's gone 6 for his last 7. The offense starting to show some semblance of life here in the second quarter.
Sometimes a hurry-up offense and a 2-minute drive can do that for you as a quarterback. You're not thinking so much. You're getting the play call. You're going and executing.
The freshman kicker, Cameron Dicker. Yes, Dicker the kicker.
I didn't say anything.
Second down. Texas out of timeouts now. Looking at a second down and 4. Pressure coming. One-on-one. There's Johnson. He's got it. Touchdown, Texas. They're going to go for 2 here.
Yeah, and you figure why not try to tie it up at this point. Some people would say a little too soon to start chasing points, but you got some momentum right now, and you got to ride with that when you've got it in college football.
Didn't mean to cut you off. You're right. Finally, they found Johnson.
That's what they're going to be looking for from him the rest of the season. A monumental leap for a gigantic guy.
.66", 220 pounds out of San Jose. Looking for more consistency out of him. Got off to a great start last year. Full body of work was good, but he struggled over the second half of this season. We're going to check to confirm this. What a catch it was.
Look at the catch. And he keeps his body in bounds, maintains possession of the football. And there's not much Marcus Lewis can do in that case.
All right, so they've confirmed it, and here comes a 2-point try. They roll Ehlinger. Looks back the other way, not much there, and leaves it out of the back of the end zone. Maryland remains in front by 2.
Let's go back to the touchdown to Colin Johnson. This is nifty work by Sam Ehlinger. Here's the matchup at the bottom of your screen, but watch the quarterback. Watch his eyes look off the middle field defender to the right. This is football 101. Give yourself more room. Comes back to the matchup he wants. Johnson's strong enough to get by Lewis. He makes the spectacular catch. You know, this Johnson guy reminds me a lot of another Johnson, Calvin Johnson. You know, back when I played the big wide receiver out of Georgia Tech, he had the size and ability to dominate any game, anytime he chose. And I think Texas is looking for that out of Colin Johnson as he continues to grow and improve. We'll see a little nastiness out of him. We'll see a little more attitude from him.
How nice is that, though, as a quarterback, to have a guy with that kind of frame?
You don't have to be perfect.
Trust.
You don't have to be perfect. You know, you can throw up 50-50 balls, and there's the comparison. Look at both these guys' size and then coming off their sophomore season. And I think that the difference is, Ehlinger is probably more of a cable quarterback than Reggie Ball was back then at getting Colin Johnson the football.
Reggie Ball was a great video game player, though. Not him actually playing the game, but using him in the game. Couldn't stop him. This is a 24-7 game midway through this second quarter, but Texas has scored 15 unanswered.
I'm just thinking of how many millennials just love that reference.
The video game
reference.
The opener in Landover, Maryland. Fifth meeting between these programs. So we're buckling in for a good one. Let's bring in Bruce Feldman.
Joe, for more on Colin Johnson, the Texas staff really challenged him this offseason. For as gifted as he is, they looked at film of him and said, you're getting pushed around by smaller defensive backs. You got to get into beast mode. You can be really special, but you got to want to be really special.
Now they said positive signs from him through that offseason and into this camp. Some more physicality, a little better consistency.
He's a nice guy. And, sometimes when you're on the outside of the island like that, you can't be such a nice guy. You got to kind of bully some guys around.
Well, Maryland bullied its way around for the first quarter and a half of this game, but you blink, and Texas is within 2, ready to get the ball to open the second half.
Forced them to have to go the long and hard way to get points, and then all of a sudden, Texas kind of found their way at the end of the first half. Was able to grab some of that momentum on their side with some big plays, in particular one by Colin Johnson.
Joseph Petrino sends it away. Short kick taken by a diving Malcolm Roach inside the 20. We go down to Bruce Feldman.
Joe, I asked Tom Herman about what was really going wrong with you. Brady was talking about getting momentum back. How'd you do it? He goes, we were just in our own heads too much. We're trying to be too perfect. I went up tempo, let the guys settle down. Salmon was the worst culprit of all. He said he missed some reads, missed some throws on the perimeter. Once we settled down and got into rhythm, we were rolling. Defensively, we think we got a handle on the jet sweep, and it's going to help us a lot now that we got Wheeler back for the second half at linebacker.
That was one of the issues for Sam Ehlinger last year, is I think in high school he could get away with missing some of his reads, but creating and doing more. Not at the college football level, and saw a little bit of that from him in the first half.
Second half begins from the 17-yard line. Play action on time. Humphrey shed Savage and fought his way forward for 7. Now Texas on their first 6 drives had a total of 60 yards, and 40 of them came on one play. But over the last 3 possessions of the first half, 165 as Ehlinger and the offense really got things going. Second down and short. Straight up the middle they go with Trey Watson for a first down.
Well, a lot of that momentum came from the special teams, right? A punt return by Jones put them in position to take the big shot, and then the safety, which led to a punt out of bounds, all of a sudden getting good field position, and then they started to capitalize off of that. As an offense, you feel so much more confident in your ability to score when you have to work with 50 yards or 60 yards as opposed to being backed up.
First and 10, Ehlinger looks to throw. Steps up in the pocket and finds Humphrey, but he can't pull it in. Second and 10.
And this is the tough part when you're playing quarterback and you got to step up into the pocket, and credit the Maryland defensive front for forcing Ehlinger to do that. But once you do, you get off time, you get off rhythm, and it becomes harder than to fit that ball into a window. He's put it behind because that was the window between the 2 defenders. Looks like an inaccurate pass, but really credit the Maryland pass rush.
Watson swings out. Ehlinger goes the other way. Colin Johnson immediately tackled by Marcus Lewis. And it's third down for Texas. Marcus Lewis, one of the 3 Division I transfers, they're hoping can help this defense this year. He's out of Florida State. Local guy, wanted to come play close to home again. Opening drive of the second half for Texas. Third down and 6. Maryland shows pressure and brings it from the far side. Ellinger gets rid of it, incomplete. On it, Jamison, 4th down.
And there was a team meeting at the quarterback spot on Sam Ellinger there. You see on the edges, Ellinger looked left, didn't like what he saw from Colin Johnson, tries to come back to the right and find more across the middle. Just nowhere to go, and he knows they're barreling down on him. It's an uncomfortable feeling if you've never been there before.
Jacobs back to return Buchevsky's punt. Just 2 to snap it. And they're not going to get it off.
Prior to the snap, delay a game on the offense, 5-yard penalty.
This is not one of those times where when you're punting, you take a delay. It came down this portion of the field. It seemed like Andrew Beck was trying to talk to the guys in front of him about something, communicating maybe a look. I mean, Maryland's got a fair amount of pressure on Texas punting the football today. I'm sure that's been a concern, and an adjustment was made at halftime.
There'll be some confidence from freshman punter. Coach, I need some more room. Let's take a delay. Another one that sails out of bounds and will be up to the official to spot it. And a rough first day. And burnt orange for Buchevsky. Maryland with a 24-22 lead, trying to make it back-to-back seasons, opening with a win against Texas. Last year it was the ground game that got a lot of the job done. Ty Johnson had 132, but in that first half today, 2 carries for 3 yards.
One of the differences was, Tyrell Pigram was at quarterback, and the Texas defense had to worry about him running the football just as much as Ty Johnson. I think that opens up some things. But the other thing is he hasn't gotten to the outside. That's when he gets most dangerous, is once he gets outside the tackles.
Swing it out to the freshman Okonkwo. Tight end Chig Okonkwo, one of Maryland's top recruits, early enrollee that they were excited to watch play for the first time today.
He's got that element and the ability to stretch the field and catch the football in the passing game. Something that Matt Canada said DJ Durkin talked to him about when he first took the job, and something they wanted to do. And Matt Canada, wherever he's been, he's tried to curtail the offense around the pieces that he has. And that's why you're going to see a lot of running backs. You're going to see a lot of these true freshman wide receivers and some of these tight ends all mixing in.
2nd down and 4 in Texas territory. Hill under center this time. Flat. Taking turns.
Offense number 64. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
So false start and 2nd down. You're talking about Matt Canada and everywhere he's been. I mean, all over the place. 7th program in his last 9 years.
Look, there's a lot of ways of looking at it. I mean, I think he's valued in the sense of look at what he's done in each spot. He's brought an innovative offense to every place and kind of done something or had a different wrinkle at all those stops. Things didn't work out so much at LSU last year. But so far here at Maryland, he's done a good job.
2nd down and 9. Hill rolling to his right, has Johnson in the flats. Instead goes 2nd level for a nice reception for Jay-Sean Jones. Although this time, something must be wrong with him. He didn't find the end zone.
I mean, this is the type of stuff you typically see from a veteran wide receiver. But he's at the sticks, he's on his mark, and just the extension, the ability to make sure he gets a foot in, but still control the football into his body. It's going to be just short.
Before that catch, he touched it 3 times today.
Yeah.
Touchdown catch, touchdown run, touchdown pass.
Pretty disappointing.
I know. 3rd down and short. And they'll sneak it for a 1st down.
When's the last time you saw one of those?
Been a while. For more on Matt Canada, we go down to Bruce.
Guys, when we were talking to Matt Canada yesterday about his adjustment, one of the people he reached out to was Lincoln Riley, who took over in the summer at OU, and he said just about the transition from coordinator to taking over the thing was was a big adjustment for him, but how do you do it, scheduling some of the details? The other guy he's leaned on a lot, he told us, was his old boss at Indiana, Jerry DiNardo. I talked to DiNardo this morning, and the thing he's really impressed upon Canada was, he said, you know what, you don't have to know the defense, but you got to get to know the defensive players, because if you're going to motivate them and get in team meetings, they got to feel like they know you. And so that's something he's really worked hard on the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and he mentioned it to us, Bruce, that while it was a concern calling plays from the field for the first time, the other thing is, as a coordinator, he's never paid much attention to the defense. So he's having to adjust the way that he thinks on game day. Second down. Johnson, not much there.
I think at that point, there's an emotional aspect of it, too. You know, you talked about it in the first half, being isolated up in a booth where you don't have to worry about the emotions of your players and their fatigue and the things they're telling you. Now you do, and not only just from the offensive standpoint, but really all three phases on your team. It's a difficult transition if you've never done it before.
So 3rd down and 7 for Canada's offense. We mentioned it, Anthony Wheeler back in the game, sitting out the first half for the targeting at the end of last year. He and the horns showing pressure. Hill gets crunched as he lets it go out of the reach of Jones, and it's 4th down.
Working to Jones on a similar out route. Difference was not a rollout or boot action in this case. Got flushed out of the pocket, and that was the difference. You see number 45, Anthony Wheeler, he's back. Wasn't necessarily the one that created the pressure for the Texas defense, but helped give some push. That's where, as Kasim Hill, you learn to just kind of settle in that pocket sometimes. Don't move unless you absolutely have to move, even though you got a guy getting pushed in your lap. Just try to settle and make the throw. You start running in and having issue. Now they're going for it on 4th down.
1 second left on the play clock. Another penalty flag.
Delay a game on the offense. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
7 on both teams. That changes the mind. They're going to send the punt team out.
It didn't seem like anyone was aware of the play clock at that point. I'm not sure if Kasim Hill thought it got reset, and he had longer than he actually did. Every once in a while, you're seeing offense keep their offense out in the field or try to see what the look they're going to get. I don't think that was the case there.
Brandon Jones will return this Wade Lee's punt. First opportunity he had to pin him. He did inside the 5. Jones with the catch of the 10. Quarter with that late charge in the first half. Within 2. Opening this drive at its own 10. Straight ahead run. Daniel Young. It's cramping as he worked his way off of the field. 2nd down and 1 for Texas. Early on in this 3rd quarter. They go back to Daniel Young, who's got a Texas 1st down. Young, a more significant role as last year went on and ran for close to 400 yards as a true freshman. But the ground game was far from a strength for this Texas team, and they're hoping that with a couple new running backs, some hoped improvement from the O-line, that the running game will be a whole lot different this year. This time there's nothing in it.
When you lose a guy like Connor Williams, who was a 2nd-round pick to the Dallas Cowboys, talented, but he missed a decent portion of last year. But over the offseason, they did get Calvin Anderson. You know, that's kind of the free agency of college football now. A graduate transfer from Rice. He really helped solidify some of their fears going into this season that they weren't going to have that blindside left tackle. But I think this group now, with experience, the fact that they're healthier, and with the addition of Anderson, they do have high hopes for this team being able to run the football better.
3 straight runs on this drive. 2nd down and 10. They keep it on the ground here. And a nice job to bounce off initial contact for Young. And he's got a 1st down. He's not the only addition, Calvin Anderson. Of course, Herb Hand over as the offensive line coach. And people rave about the impact that he's going to make.
Great story, sitting down talking with head coach Tom Herman. And I said, did you know Herb Hand before you brought him on staff? He goes, no, I didn't know him at all. I was just watching film of Vanderbilt and these double teams working up against that vaunted Alabama defense, saying to myself, who is that guy? So he just called him up out of the blue. Ended up offering him a job, and he took it. Moral of the story, shoot or shoot. Miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's it. Maryland showing pressure on first down. Play clock winding down again. Texas gets it off. Young with a heavy dose on this drive, but MB Tommy there to shut him down before he could get going.
You know, at the end of the first half, you saw Sam Ehlinger get more into a rhythm because they were throwing more on first down, and now they're not quite using the same tempo, and they've been in this run mode. And I think it gets hard, especially on young quarterbacks, to get back into that rhythm, especially over, you know, a halftime when you don't throw earlier on first and second down.
Here at 2nd and 9, he fakes, throws wide side off of the hands of Deshaun Jamison. Actually, Joshua Moore did another freshman, 3rd and 9.
And then you end up in 3rd and 9, right? And this becomes tough to ask of, you know, a sophomore, but a guy who only started 6 games as a true freshman last year. When you're looking at the maturation process of Sam Ehlinger, you got to try to help him out a little bit.
With the issues they've had getting things started on 1st and 2nd down, there's what's happened on 3rd down. 1 for 8 today. 3rd down and 9. A shovel pass is batted in the air. They let it play, saying that it was knocked out of his hand before it became a pass. Thankfully for Texas, they fall on it. Jesse Anabonum was the man that stuck his hand in there, made it 4th down.
And here's the deal. They're playing man-to-man coverage, so there's going to be responsible for that. Where you're going to see Anabonum top of your screen, right to the right. Gets a hand in. He's responsible for the quarterback if they were going to try to run what looked like kind of an option with a shovel pass underneath. Either way, there's a defender just waiting for the Texas running back.
Looks like this game is kind of waiting to take off in this second half after a lot of action in the first half. Fair catch, Jacobs.
Demon hot down here.
There's a first play to DJ Turner off the right side. I hope Bruce's hair is holding up okay despite that. Humidity can be tough.
There's a reason why we didn't put him on camera.
So I have my answer.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit during the first half, but from a football perspective, what Maryland went through this summer meant that they lost about a month and a half of normal conditioning. How will that show up as this game rolls on? Here's Pigram with a short gain. Stopped by Jeffrey McCulloch. And it'll be 3rd down.
And McCulloch has had to kind of fill in for spot duty, right? Lost Gary Johnson due to the targeting call earlier in the game. Anthony Wheeler was out for the first half, now in the second half. He's done a good job filling in.
3rd and 4, only a 3-man rush. 8 in coverage. McFarland made it close, but it appears he's a yard short as Kobe Boyce was able to trip him up. So it is 4th down and 1. So far, no sign of the punt team. Matt Canada perhaps rolling the dice late in this 3rd quarter with his team up 2.
Your defense has done the job on 3rd down so far today. Gutsy call, momentum call. You got a guy playing interim head coach. What do you got to lose?
Fourth down, less than 1. They sneak it with Hill, and he's stymied. Locke and Hager slam the door, and Texas takes control inside the 35.
This play was stymied thanks to Chris Nelson. Wondered how he'd be able to fill in the shoes of Puna Ford. Watch right here. He stands up the Maryland offensive line. That allows Hager to get inside. There's nowhere for Hill to go. Hager and the rest of the Texas defense rallies. That's a big stop.
Momentum shifter. Texas takes over at the 36-yard line. The other time today they had exceptional field position. On the first play, they hit a 39-yard touchdown to Devin Duvernay.
And as much as you can feel like that's deflating if you're Maryland, what Matt Canada is saying when he keeps his offense out there is, I have faith in you, my defense, to be able to hold up now.
They felt up for much of the day today after they were the worst defense in the Big Ten last year. Snap it with 1 second to spare. Ehlinger all day to throw. Great coverage downfield, and his only option is to heave it to the sideline with a double covered Johnson. 2nd and 10.
Texas isn't rotating their wide receivers quite as much as Maryland has been. And that time, little Jordan Humphrey was trying to work his way across the field. Seemed like he was a little bit slow to get across. Maybe conditioning's becoming a factor.
Watson, not a whole lot there. Now, Bruce mentioned how hot it is. Texas has had something like 2.5 weeks in a row of 100 degrees or worse every single day.
The day I was there, they were practicing in the bubble, so they weren't necessarily out in that heat. Not saying that you would change the way you prepared yourself. No reason to subject guys to it if you don't have to. Now with a big 3rd down, the question becomes, do you continue to keep playing man-to-man coverage? It's worked out for you well, but it's becoming a little bit more predictable. But you try to bring some pressure.
Just barely inside the range of the freshman Cameron Dicker right here. 3rd down and 9. They bring 5. Ellinger wants Johnson. He's got it, and it's 1st down and goal. Perfectly dropped in by Ellinger.
Sam Ellinger told me every time they get him press man-to-man coverage, they're going to look for him. And this ball, as you noted, perfectly placed to the outside shoulder. Colin Johnson uses the big body to shield it and make the catch.
Kyle Porter sheds a tackle. Texas all the way back and in front for the first time today.
This becomes so tough to stop. After a big play, they rush and get up to the line of scrimmage. You're just trying to get set. Meanwhile, trying to stop this Texas offensive line, that push, and Kyle Porter.
Jesse Bonham getting looked at by the training staff. As Kyle Porter goes in from 2 yards out. And Texas, after trailing this game 24-7, has scored 21 straight.
Has the potential to be 22 unanswered here. Dicker, the kicker, can do his job.
Hey, which is kick.
I mean, look at this. When you run with tempo, you're trying to substitute, trying to get guys lined up on the field, let alone figure out what the offense is trying to do. You can see Anna Bonham on the left side of your screen goes down immediately after the play.
So there it is, 22 unanswered for the Longhorns. Boston native, Lake Travis, will send it away to Ty Johnson. Good kick. Johnson will take a knee. And it's a Maryland team that a year ago, once the quarterback injuries happened, was not equipped to hang in a game like this. They're hoping to prove it. This is a different group with what the have a quarterback now.
Yeah, their MO was to run the football, play good defense, and hopefully hang on. A different story now. Kasim Hill is back. You got Pigram rotating as well. I mean, we've seen this offense be able to put up some production. Now it's about this team responding and having belief in themselves to be able to come back after a team all of a sudden scores 22 on your answer.
Most recent points coming after the 4th down gamble went awry for Maryland. From the 25-yard line. Johnson stopped by Wheeler. And again, Johnson last year against Texas, 132 yards, and has put together a fantastic career for the Terps. Just not a whole lot today.
You think Todd Orlando made that one of the things they wanted to stop today coming into this game?
Well, what did he tell us? He said that he thought sometimes the best lesson is getting your butts whooped, and that's what Ty Johnson and the Maryland offense did to the Texas defense last year. Took those lessons forward. Remembering him easily today. There's a flag down. As Funk has the reception.
This is going to be illegal hands to the face. Tight end Avery Edwards was talking to the official, trying to point to the Texas side. Hager's pointing the other way.
Personal foul, hands to the face. defense, number 94. That 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the play. First down.
Gerald Wilbon.
Yeah, big 94 right here in the center of your screen. See him getting his hands up in Johnny Jordan's face mask, continuing to push and grab on. Good catch by the official. It's tough to see sometimes with all those big bodies in there.
First down from the 47. Another flag.
I don't know if the tight end was completely set before the motion turner.
False start. Offense, number 6. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Interesting. Called on Jay-Sean Jones.
8 penalties on both sides today.
To be expected. Right? First game.
Yeah.
First live action. You're going to have some of these pre-snap penalties.
A little choppy overall. A little choppy week 1. So it's 1st and 15. Johnson not with a whole lot of room off the right side. Anthony Wheeler. Jeffrey McCulloch.
That's the thing that I think has stymied Maryland on offense is the lack of production or shooting themselves in the foot with penalties, things like that on first down. And when you notice that in the beginning of their drives, that's where they've really struggled to move the football.
Back to the gun on 2nd down. In the flats, Johnson needs a block and gets 1 and 2 and hits the sideline for a first down.
Unique play design. They're sprinting out hill, yet they've got Johnson in the flat. He's behind the line of scrimmage, so that means the wide receivers can engage downfield and block before he catches the football, which is really what helps open up the yardage downfield.
Dante Demas, yet another true freshman receiver, had one of the key blocks on that play. Into Texas territory, first down from the 38. Fake to Johnson. Hill in trouble and sacked by Chris Boyd.
He's just a complete player. He's great in coverage. He'll come up and stick you in the run game. Here he is coming off of the edge. He's a good blitzer. It's underneath Avery Edwards. Finds his way of bringing down Hill, and that's no easy task. Hill's a big boy now. 6'2", 235 pounds.
Boyd came to Texas dreaming of being part of the DBU legacy. He's the most experienced player on the defense at this point. 3-year starter, matured a lot, into a leader for him. 2nd down, shovel pass into traffic, that's incomplete. And it's 3rd and long.
Never really a great time for a shovel pass, in my opinion. Was never my favorite play call for that reason. You're pitching back inside to all these bodies, and you never know if you're going to have a defensive lineman or linebacker pop through.
Those guys can't catch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't want to try them, huh?
You'd be surprised. Sometimes those big guys got soft hands.
Sometimes it just sticks. 3rd and 19.
Maybe it's a screen, draw, something simple, get some yards out of it.
Hill with a straight drop, hits the crosser. Daryl Jones gets him inside the 35. So they get about 15 back. And it's 4th down and less than 5.
You went for it last time in your own territory. Do you go for it now? Too long for the kicker, too close to maybe punt. Maybe you take another shot. You got some momentum here.
4th down and 6. They went for it on 4th down in the previous drive in their own territory. And it got stopped. They'll go for it here from the Texas 34. Down for the first time today.
Jay-Sean Jones is at the top of your screen. He's matched up on Boyd. Don't know if he'll go there, but he's going to start today.
Hill is pressured. He runs. Kasim Hill with a first down. take it off to the 25 and extending the drive with a gain of 10.
And this was all about the pump fake. Once he got outside the pocket, he looks downfield and watch right here. That little move, it just sells Foster and allows him to have more space to pick up the additional yards for the first down.
All right, start of the fourth quarter. Maryland has led most of this game. Texas taking its first lead late in the third quarter. Hill to the end zone. Jones, the intended receiver, out of his reach with the coverage from another freshman, and Caden Stearns.
It's just a heck of a play from Stearns. He'll put the ball in a good spot, gave Jones an opportunity to make the spectacular play just outside the reach, just through the hands, really. I'll tell you what, though, the future is bright for Jayshon Jones. True freshman, first game of his career. They're asking him to do a bunch of different things.
As we've seen today, instead of handed all 3 Maryland touchdowns.
Timeout. Maryland, their first of the half. It'll be 30 seconds in duration.
So first timeout used by Matt Canada. 14:55 left to play in this one.
This is a big possession. You know, you've worked the ball down the field. We talked about Texas coming back in this game, storming their way back with 22 unanswered points. You're down this far, you'd really like to come away with a touchdown. You know, a field goal doesn't do you much good. And this is going to be a big play. Nothing worked on first down. Come back your second down, get something positive to give yourself a shot.
Second and 10. Hill. Blockers in front. Chased down from behind by P.J. Locke. So they do get enough to make it a more comfortable third down.
He had the option to throw to Fleet Davis out in the flat. The flat decided to run it himself, get him to turn up and block. But P.J. Locke was able to track Hill down from the backside. Great play, good hustle.
Another one of those veterans on the Texas defense. Third year with time as a starter. They gave him 6. 3rd and 4. Fleet Davis slips a tackle on his feet towards the end zone, and then touchdown Terps to retake the lead early in the 4th.
It's so difficult to stop. Watch as he comes across. There just ends up being a seam. Hager ends up being unblocked. He can't get him. He's already by him at that point. The momentum, the speed, the power once he gets to the second level to find the end zone by Fleet Davis.
You're talking about how deep this running back group is. Say on Fleet Davis, somebody that Matt Canada is really excited about. And his first touchdown has Maryland in front by a point. Extra point good. Here we go again in a 31-29 game from Landover. Jamison from the 5. Jamison across the 25 and dropped right there. Well, the Texas offense got off to a slow start today, and the numbers for Sam Ehlinger matched that. But as he's gotten going, so is the offense. Overall, 191 for the sophomore.
I think when you look at this game as a whole, when they've put him in positions, good field position, usually he's capitalized, he's played better. When they've been backed up, when he's been in 3rd and long, he's struggled. It kind of has to be expected for a true sophomore, but there's going to be a time in this game, much like last year. The game's going to be on the line. He has to make a crucial decision, and last year he struggled with that. This year, we'll see if he's grown up, matured, and will make better decisions.
From the 27-yard line, first down and 10 for Texas. And a handoff. Trey Watson stays on his feet. Boy, look at the moisture popping out of the surface as Antoine Brooks finishes him off.
Another thing is these guys start hitting each other and sliding around on the ground, and it's only going to be that much harder to tackle the ball carrier. Watson bouncing off the Maryland defenders.
Ellinger's throw is wide, and it's 3rd down. Empty set for the Horns. Maryland rushes only 4. Ellinger with time on the out. He's got Humphrey for a 1st down. Humphrey leading the way today for Texas. His 5th reception. This one for 11.
You've got Humphrey matched up on a linebacker right here. That's Watson, and you're going to take this every single time if you're a quarterback. Just a mismatch. Good read by Ellinger.
Quick fake and a toss to the outside. Duvernay. Bumped out of bounds by Darnell Savage. He's got a diving touchdown catch today. He's got a solid gain here into Maryland territory. They gave him 7, so 2nd and 3. And Trey Watson for a yard. 3rd down and 2.
It's a good play by Antoine Brooks. He's really had himself a game today. They asked him to do so much in this defense. Top of the coaching staff, by far and away their best player on that side of the ball.
Quickly on the ball for 3rd down. Duvernay gets ripped down in the backfield by Tino Ellis. And just like that, 4th down for Texas.
Went to the well one too many times with the quick screen out to the wide receiver. Tino Ellis read it the entire way. And if you're Colin Johnson, you have to find a way to get a body on Ellis and not allow him to disrupt it.
Like the Longhorns had some momentum going on that drive, but it quickly sputters. The punt team comes out as Jacobs goes back. If you happen to just be joining us, it has been an adventure today for Ryan Buchevsky in his 1st game. It's a good bounce here. This other delay. Maryland's 1st possession since begins at its own 8. The play that they scored on prior to the delay with a jet sweep to Tayon Fleet Davis. A gain of 12, 1st down.
Yeah, I'm sure Maryland would like to put together a long, methodical drive running the football against this Texas defense. And let's not forget, this defense is playing without their middle linebacker, Gary Johnson. Impacted by the targeting call earlier. He was ejected for that. You got Anthony Wheeler back, who missed the 1st half, but Malcolm Roach now has to kind of play the inside backer spot.
Fleet Davis again. This time Brecken Hager was ready for him. Drops him for a loss. 2nd down.
And Hager's the guy that's unblocked on the jet sweep action, and they've been able to get outside of him with the speed of this play. This time saw it coming. Was able to get a hand on Fleet Davis. Good play by Hager.
Continue to stick with the jet sweep. This one to Jacobs. Can't get around the corner. Great job by Kobe Boyce to shut it down.
And really by the pursuit, too, of the Texas defense as they string out the jet sweep and use the sideline as that 12th defender. And it starts with B.J. Foster. He slows up Jacobs, and then Boyce pushes him to the outside. And just look at that. It's like a slip and slide.
You mentioned the Gary Johnson being out of the game for the targeting. The reason Kobe Boyce is playing so much is Devontae Davis is out with a neck injury. Play clock winding down in front of this 3rd and 11. They get it off. Texas brings heat. Hill down the sideline. Wants Jones. He'll get a flag with a coverage from Boyd. And what a debut game it's been for Jayshon Jones.
I got to be honest with you, too. I thought Chris Boyd played this pretty well. It was pretty physical down the stretch. But notice he turns back to try to make a play on the football. It's right there where he gets in trouble. Puts both hands on Jones and really impedes his ability to come back to the football right there. But up until that point, if he doesn't put two hands on him, I think he may get away with it because he turned back to try to make a play on the ball.
Instead, guy in his first college game gets the better of Texas's most experienced defender.
And that ball was underthrown. I kind of was thinking to myself, if Boyd makes a play on this one, I wouldn't be surprised.
First down from the 34. Jacobs taking it left side, getting a couple of blocks, accelerating ahead to the 40. Brandon Jones and Anthony Wheeler combine in the tackle. Second down.
Jet sweep is so effective. And you get these big offensive linemen for Maryland running. That time it was Ellis McKinney to the outside. You got these bigger bodies covering up defensive backs.
Already tough with the footing, trying to get out there and use that open space, make the footing even more difficult. And here it is again. Jacobs again, but he's planted this time by Brandon Jones. DJ Locke there as well. Third down for the Terps. 3rd and 4 from the 40.
Last time they wanted to take a shot at Boyd with Jones in one-on-one coverage. Right now, Jones isn't in the game. If they are going to pass, typically it's Tavon Jacobs' ball.
On the slant, it's Davenport exploding into the secondary. Jarvis Davenport for 34 yards into Longhorn territory.
Out front and accurate. That's how you allow the catch and run with the football. Davenport finds the soft spot in the zone coverage. He's able to get the rest and get that yak.
The senior's first catch of the day is a big one.
Texas elected to go with a zone coverage as opposed to man. They've been playing a lot of man-to-man today, in particular on third down.
First down from the 25. They fake it to Johnson. Float one out of bounds. There's a flag down. As Kasim Hill let that one go, with B.J. Foster bearing in on him.
It looked like he got hit in the head.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Number 25 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
True freshman B.J. Foster. And again, the quarterback in that point in time, you can't hit him with a hand, wrist, elbow, any of that. The head and neck area. Trying to remove that from the game.
It's been an issue for both sides today, those penalties. That's number 10 on Texas. Near the halfway point of this fourth quarter, Maryland on the move with a first down from the 12. And Johnson, left side, sticks the shoulder down and fights near the marker. Ty Johnson, who had such a huge game in Austin last year, has been bottled up so far today. And here he runs it down to the 3.
Four of your 5 starting offensive linemen coming back this year for Maryland. It's at this point in the game where it's really showing their experience, their drive, them trying to capitalize.
First down and goal. It's Johnson again. Inside the 2, down to the 1. 2nd and goal. Chris Nelson with the stop.
Something to keep your mind on when Texas elected to go for 2 earlier in the game, didn't convert. Now all of a sudden that would make this with a touchdown, and if that does occur and they end up hitting a PAT, ends up making a 9-point game.
It's a great point. It was late in the first half. I figured there'd be plenty more scoring opportunities to come to be able to chase it. Herman went for it there and it didn't work. On 2nd and goal, fake it to Funk. Here comes Hill looking for the corner. Won't get it. Brandon Jones with a nice open field tackle to make it 3rd and goal.
Just an unbelievable play by Brandon Jones. And typically when you have a quarterback run, it's going to be the guy who's unblocked. He's furthest away. And he's tracking downhill the entire time, running across the field to make this play. Big time stop for the Longhorns.
Not his only one. 10th of the game for Brandon Jones. Third and goal from the 2. Play action off his back foot. Back of the end zone. No signal yet. The officials getting together.
I think he got a foot in.
That's Noah Barnes, the sophomore tight end, but incomplete and 4th down.
I want to see it. Looked like he might have got a foot in. The question is whether or not his other foot might have been out. But check out his left foot as he extends to make the catch.
Right foot comes
bang
down
play,
first.
but right foot out first.
How about the officials getting that right in real time?
Incomplete pass is under further review.
And that seems pretty definitive. Nothing would overturn that, at least in my opinion, but heck of a play. What about this game?
Wow. It's had it all. They are reviewing this.
And the question becomes, if you're Matt Canada, you've elected to go for a number of 4th downs. You run the risk now?
Well, Mike Pereira still with us in Los Angeles. What do you think, Mike?
I've been here for a while, by the way. It's incomplete. I think the officials did a good job of getting together just to make sure, because does the right foot come down first or the left? But you're going to get the touch of the right foot out of bounds first before that left. They came together, agreed. The back judge actually gave the initial call of it being incomplete, but then they got together to discuss it, and I'm sure that replay should uphold the fact that this is an incomplete pass.
Okay.
But back to the conversation before. Does Matt Canada risk getting go for it on 4th down and try to close the door? Does he take, it looks like he's going to take the easy kick. And that's going to force Texas in a position to score a touchdown.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Incomplete pass.
Well, they have the field goal team out there, and it's staying out there. So Joseph Petrino, true freshman, hit his first one. Try a chip shot here. Try and make the lead 5.
You think just because it's not raining that it's not tough for the snapper, the holder, the kicker with his plant foot and all that, but any kick with these sort of field conditions makes it difficult. Ball security is at a premium.
May take a delay to make the angle a little bit easier.
How often do you ever hear that, right?
I know, right? We've seen
these wide hashes in college football. Little different deal.
On the offense, that penalty is declined. It remains 4th down.
So with the penalty decline, they'll force him to take it from this angle anyways. Bortenschlager's the holder. He was the quarterback for much of last year after the injuries. Oliveira, senior snapper. And the new guy, Petrino. From 18 yards, he's got it, and the lead is 5 for the Terps with break, and then all the turmoil lately. They find themselves leading inside of 7 minutes. Here comes Deshaun Jamison. Jamison shifts his way to the 27-yard line. So 6:38 left to go. The Texas offense led by the sophomore Sam Ehlinger back out there.
Talked about the growth of Sam Ehlinger and what the Texas fan base is really looking for out of their quarterback. Played well in some big games. USC on the road, Oklahoma State. But in the end, there's some poor decisions in critical moments of the game. And that's where I'm most looking forward to.
Officials timeout.
To see if, you know, he'll be able to kind of grow from that, learn from that, and move forward in his sophomore year and be able to make the right play, which is sometimes just throwing the football away or sometimes just taking care of the football.
This is Michael Cooper, the umpire, cramping up a little bit. It was a really interesting thing last year for Sam Ehlinger in that overall his best games typically were the biggest games, but in several cases there was that one key moment that left you with a bad taste and oftentimes left Texas with the loss.
And when I sat down with him and asked him about those moments, did he review it? What did he learn from that? The biggest thing he said, you know, I just have to do a better job of in the moment not trying to do too much and living to play another down, whether that's versus Oklahoma State, bad interception, or, you know, in the case of the USC game, it's tough. Maybe his forward progress was stopped, maybe not. Either way, ends up being a fumble that USC is able to seal the game on.
Also, in both those cases, they probably don't get to the point they did without the way he played for the first several quarters of the game. Open this drive with Ehlinger running. We've not seen a ton of that today, but he's got a nice pickup. Stopped by Trey Watson.
Typically, that's called a speed option. That might have been the slowest, most patient speed option I have ever seen. I mean, usually there's a player that makes you as a quarterback have to pitch or decide to keep. In that case, no one really showed up for Ehlinger.
It was a gain of 10, first down. Ehlinger to throw. Over the middle and picked off. The key mistake you're talking about. First interception of the day thrown by Ehlinger. Comes with 6:09 left from the senior transfer Trey Watson.
When it looked like Ehlinger's arm got hit on the throw, there's Trey Watson, but keep a look at number 5. Ehlinger was not excited about the block, and you can see Brooks tips his arm. And then it's Trey Watson on Maryland that ends up intercepting it. And the tough part about that throw is regardless of his arm getting tipped or not, that's a tight window to try to fit that ball into Humphrey. Not sure Ehlinger is going to be able to make that happen, even with a clean pocket.
So now it falls on Tom Herman's defense with 6:09 to go. But already in Texas territory. Jacobs in motion. Here's Johnson. Stopped by Wheeler. Second down. Well, there's this Maryland team. We started the day by talking about how their whole focus has been on trying to play in memory of their friend and of their teammate, Jordan McNair. Every snap they take, every practice, playing in honor of him. At this point, not just playing in his honor, but 540 away from winning in his honor. A game not a lot of people gave him much of a shot in. On second down, Jacobs trying to get to the corner. He's going to lose a couple of yards. P.J. Locke with a tackle. Third down.
Well, the interesting thing on the last play was because Hager ended up impacting the last jet sweep on the previous series, they actually used one of their offensive linemen to block him this time, which means they were a man short on the outside, and Texas was able to rally to the football easier. Now in 3rd and long with a lead plus field position, you'd think this is going to be a pretty conservative play call for the most part. Something either easy completion to the outside, see if you can catch and run with it, or running the football just to keep that clock churning down.
Inside 5 minutes now. 3rd and 9 for Maryland. Play clock winding down. They get it off. Texas brings pressure. It's tipped and incomplete. And the Texas defense with a 3 and out with 4:43 to go.
Charles Omenihu, the senior. You'll see him get his hands up. The very end of this is they're trying to work the ball to Jacobs. And all this was is essentially a downfield screen. Everyone else is getting in position to block for Jacobs. They're trying to sneak the ball to him underneath for a catch and run. A lot of green grass. Texas fortunate. Omenihu got his hand on that football.
Brandon Jones has a big return already today. Lees moves it down there. Jones with a fair catch, taken at the 9.
Especially with Oklahoma coming up as well.
4th time today, Brady, they've started a drive inside their own 10. They've only gotten 1 first down in the previous 3 times. Ehlinger to throw, looking short side, and he's got Andrew Beck. The tight end with his first catch of the day. First catch in 2 years after missing last season with a foot injury.
Surprised he hasn't been worked into the game plan a little bit more in the passing game perspective. They talked about missing him in the run blocking, but he's versatile. You put him in the backfield, split him out like we just saw. He can run some good routes and catch the football.
Leader of this offense, big time having him back. First imprint in the passing game. First down from the 24. Ellinger steps up, lets it fly, and way out of the reach of Hurd, who had one-on-one, but tight coverage from Tino Ellis. 2nd and 10.
If you're Sam Ellinger, got to figure out a way to get back into rhythm, flush what happened the last series, come back and respond. You can still be the hero in this game.
Second and 10. Patiently runs that speed option again. Able to stay on his feet and pinball for a first down. Sam Ellinger with a gain of 12.
And that's the difference between Ellinger and Shane Buechele. He's bigger, he's stronger running the football. He can make these sorts of plays and move the sticks.
30 yards on the ground for him today. Guy that led the team in rushing last year. Inside of 4 minutes. Starting to shape up like this is going to have to be the drive for Texas. Pump short. Sideline. Incomplete. Joshua Moore almost had his first reception as a Longhorn, and it would have been a beauty, but instead 2nd and 10.
And I was just about to say that was going to be a complete play for Sam Ellinger as we take another look at Moore's extension. Can't quite haul it in. But Ellinger changed the protection, blocked things up, had a man get beat, threw with pressure in his face to the right spot, just couldn't quite put it all together.
Maryland 5 men at the line of scrimmage. They bring them all as the option goes wide side. Trey Watson surges forward for 7 or 8. Makes it a 3rd and short. 3:15 and counting. All 3 timeouts left for Texas. Third and 3. Here's Watson. Adjusts to make the catch. Gets a couple of blocks and gets close. He was marked down. They spotted him down.
This is going to be close.
And then an announcement from Brad Van Vark.
What a catch.
I'm not sure that this play is going to count. No, they are going to say they did get it off, and they're going to measure.
The question is whether or not he fumbled the football. Was he down? It looked like as he was going down, the ball was jarred loose. Right there.
Ooh.
See, the ball comes out, and I don't know if he, it didn't ever look like he maintained possession of it or recovered it, and Maryland jumps on the football. I think that's Brett Kolka.
So the measurement shows that it is enough for a Texas first down, but the replay showed that this is a fumble.
The previous play of a first down spot is under further review.
And that's going to be the question right there. When Trey Watson's back hits the ground, not from this angle but the other, did the officials feel like there's enough evidence that he regained possession of the football and he was considered down at that point, or is there enough to think that that indeed was a fumble?
Now, the interesting thing here is that Brad Van Vark in his announcement there said that the spot is what's under review. This is a bit of a tricky one, it looks like, Mike Pereira. What do you see?
Well, it is a tricky one. There's no question about that. But to me, two things you got to look at. Does the ball come loose? And then is there an immediate recovery by Maryland, which there is, no question about that. And I think the ball's loose before he gets to the ground. Then he's got to hold on to it when he hits, which he doesn't. So I'm looking at this thinking you overturn it. Let's forget the spot. You overturn it, make it a fumble, and then with the immediate recovery by Maryland, you give the ball to Maryland at the spot of that recovery.
See, that angle that we just showed, though, it looks a little bit more like Trey Watson may have regained possession after the initial contact. I mean, this is a toss-up. This is a tough one. It could go either way. Right there. See how he kind of squeezes it back into his body as he goes down, and then it comes back out.
Yeah, you make a good point. The question is going to be, is it loose first? If it's loose first, then he's going to the ground. But that's a good shot there, Brady. That does bring question into it. But, you know, again, and we go to replay, is it absolutely clear? It just looks to me like it was loose at one point. Then he regained it, and then the ball came out when he hit the ground. Really tough one here, that's for sure.
These guys don't get paid enough, Mike.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why they moved to the rules analyst chair.
I was going to say, I hope we're paying Mike enough. Can't lose him, man. And I'm not going to sit there and say if this does get overturned and ends up being a fumble, Maryland possession. Ball game's not over. Still enough time for Texas to get a stop, especially with their timeouts. But this is a huge play as far as the momentum of this game.
After reviewing the play, the ball came loose prior to the runner being down and was clearly recovered by Maryland. It'll be first down Maryland at the Texas 49.
And so the first two turnovers of this game come on back-to-back Texas possessions down the stretch. The span of 7 plays.
And we talked about when we came back from the weather delay. How will this potentially impact the game moving forward? The ball's a little slick. All of a sudden, ball security becomes a premium. And so far, Texas just has not taken care of the football down the stretch.
But Tom Herman still has all 3 timeouts. The last time his defense was put in this position, 3 and out.
And this defense last year carried itself on stopping the run and third down. 2 things that are coming huge right now.
Maryland has everybody packed in tight for first down and 10. Funk in motion. Here comes Johnson. Stopped by Wheeler after 3.
You know, they condense this formation and they put in the motion and make you worry about the jet sweep.
First of the half.
Got to be concerned about getting to the outside. There's not a lot of bodies out there.
First time out used by Tom Herman back in 30 seconds. Now, familiar territory for Texas fans. 7-6 last year, but so close to being so much better. And at this point, they find themselves on the wrong end of a tight game again. Second down. Johnson again, right side, crossing the 45. And Tom Herman will use the second timeout. It'll be third down. The issue right now has been the turnovers. First an interception, then a fumble after, as far as the turnovers go, a cleanly played game prior to that.
Yeah, up until this point, I think Sam Ehlinger has played pretty solid. And I question the decision. His arm got tipped as well. Not sure how much that impacted his overall play. You can see Watson's waiting for it. Had a guy coming up from behind as well. And then Trey Watson, the running back for Texas, fumbling the football. Kolka there to recover. This has been a team we talked about just a moment ago, all the close matches they lost last season. It's what happens when you've got a young team. sometimes it's hard to find a way to close out games or be able to find a way of coming back.
3rd down and 6. Jake Funk on the jet sweep stays in bounds, but how about this Texas defense? Pressure put on its shoulders, back-to-back possessions, and both times it comes up big.
This is a good sign moving forward for Texas, regardless of the outcome of this game, is they're able to carry over that momentum with their defense from last year so far to this season. Struggled a little bit early on, but I think they've settled down, and much like last season for Texas, they've gotten better as the game's gone on.
So Tom Herman uses his 3rd and final timeout. 2:27 left to go. Matt Canada and Maryland in front 34-29.
And look, in college football, you know, even if you don't have any timeouts, it feels like sometimes an eternity when you have the opportunity to run a 2-minute drill because the clock stops after a gained 1st down. So you've got time to communicate, get guys lined up before you then snap the football.
A little bit of everything in this game, including an hour-and-a-half weather delay. The sun back out at this point. Although the field is a constant reminder of the rain that came through here. The footing no longer any good. Wade Lease to punt.
One where you got to go after him, right?
Jones waiting back and see what Texas does. They're going to set up the return. Lease trying to pin him. Jones takes it at the 5. Brandon Jones across the 20. Able to shed a tackle. Brandon Jones across the 30.
Well, they elect to go with the return. And they set it up, and Jones actually goes back across the action and gets to the field. Breaking Jake Funk's tackle, spins off another. Ellis can't get him at the end. And Jones providing a spark and maybe some life to this Texas offense, giving him a chance with 2:12 left to play.
He's coming up a little bit limp, but he's done his job for the time being with a 27-yard return. And Texas with okay starting field position here. Here comes Sam Ehlinger, son of a pair of Texas grads who grew up going to games in Austin, grew up dreaming of being the Texas quarterback. He's that man to open 2018. Trying to lead him from behind here in the season opener. Out of an empty set on 1st down. Ehlinger well protected. Steps into his throw. It's a strike for Humphrey and a 1st down to midfield.
Big time throw to start off this drive. A huge confidence builder for Ehlinger, but also just for momentum right now for this Texas offense to get this drive started. It's Humphrey working on Quantrez Knight. Hasn't played a ton today. They switch up the coverage on him and put Rayvon Davis.
Texas stays in an empty set. Ehlinger again has time, but the coverage downfield flushes him out. The throw to the sideline incomplete. Looking for Johnson, 2nd and 10.
So Maryland's using a 3-man rush and keeping Antoine Brooks around a spy for Ehlinger in case he does decide to leave the pocket. There are some running lanes there for him, but you know, Brooks' closing speed and his athleticism should match well if Ehlinger does decide to take off.
Seen him do it a couple times today. Effective a couple times. 2nd and 10. Again, they spy him. He'll check it down, and Porter is met immediately. Tino Ellis with 1:37. It's 3rd and long for Texas.
When Maryland's guarding the sidelines, they're not allowing them really to throw anywhere intermediate or deep on the sidelines. Instead, make them throw it in the field or short and make them have to run up to make the additional yardage.
2 plays to get 13 yards. 3rd down, 13, 1:37 left. Maryland continues to drop everybody into coverage. And again, they check it down. Here's Porter. Ushered out of bounds at the 45. 4th down and 5 for Texas with 1:30 to go.
And who's it going to be? Colin Johnson has had some big plays for them today. 1 touchdown catch in a crucial moment and another big catch to set up a touchdown. But it's been little Jordan Humphrey, number 84. He's been the guy they try to work to in these 3rd down and 4th down situations. He's right there on your screen.
Game on the line, 4th down. Timeout. That Canada got one in just before the ball was snapped.
Maryland takes their 2nd time out of the half. It'll be 30 seconds in length.
They've got 1 left. We'll take 1 more break with them and back in 30 seconds. What are you looking for on 4th and 5?
Well, it looks like they're going to play 2-man. So man underneath, 2 deep, but there's going to be some quarterback running lanes if Ellinger can find it.
Scans the field, under pressure. Can he find a lane? Lets it go, 1st down. Devin Duvernay extended the play with his feet, and Duvernay on the other end of it.
And this is what makes him so special. Nothing's open, buying time, and then he creates. He finds a window to Duvernay for the 4th down conversion, and it is tough to cover for that long a period of time. Rayvon Davis was right there in coverage, but you take a look at the Texas player down on the field. It's tough to call, but I think that looks like little Jordan Humphrey.
Yeah. It is Humphrey who's leading them today in 6 catches and 82 yards. Able to jog off under his own power.
Let's see what happens.
Tangled up. So the Longhorns convert on 4th down. 1st down from the Maryland 33. 1:23 left to go.
Looks like Maryland wants to bring pressure. Ellinger check.
They do bring it. Ellinger rolls, turns his shoulders, eyes downfield, will throw it out of bounds. Again, good coverage from the Terps secondary. 2nd and 10.
It was a battle of X's and O's. Ellinger saw the pressure, wanted to check. Then the defense for Maryland wanted to check, but it was right before the snap. I'm not sure they were all able to communicate it either way. Forced the incompletion.
Four-man rush. Off of Porter's hands. 3rd down.
Maryland has elected to just rush 3, drop 8 into coverage. Oh, so difficult to find anything downfield and really any throwing lanes for that matter. Again, this might be Ellinger trying to find a way to buy time with his legs and running for a 1st down, or just buying time in the pocket for someone to get open.
Play clock inside of 5. They get it off, and again, everybody dropping. So Ellinger with time. Extends the play. Downfield, and picked off! Antoine Brooks likely sealing the deal for the Terps.
play by Antoine Brooks, the junior from Duval High School. It's called prevent defense. They're really only rushing two with a spy. Ellinger not necessarily needing to throw it out of desperation, but this ball just flat out sails high. And look at the height from Brooks, the elevation, and then the ability to hold on to the football for the interception.
Texas out of timeouts. Now they just need to execute the snaps, which is not as simple with the footing the way it is, the surface the way that it is. They get the first one done inside of a minute. That clock rolling. And it is amazing when you think about everything that these kids have been through for the Maryland Terps. Waving the flag, Jordan McNair, a teammate who passed away in early June. They spent the whole summer and will continue to grieve and remember him. Wanted to honor him simply by playing. They took it to a new level today. And they'll honor him by beating Texas in the season opener.
And for Texas, they've got some things to figure out.
Let's go down to Bruce, who's with Matt Canada.
Matt, your team's been through so much emotionally. Obviously, the tragedy with Jordan McNair. So many of the guys wanted to play for him. What's going through your mind right now?
Thinking about Jordan. The guys were talking about it over there. Hell of a win for those kids. They've been through a lot. Defense did a great job right there. We didn't do our job on offense at the end. Defense did a great job. Our kids are special. Our kids are special. They did a great job, and I'm so proud of them.
You guys have the big lead, then they score 22 unanswered, then you got the weather delay. How do you keep them focused in with all the stuff they've been dealing with?
They knew they were going to win. They believed. I don't mean that like do, but they believed. They were in there talking about it. They believed they were going to win. They didn't lose their focus. We talked about how to do it, and they did it. Again, it's all the kids.
You got a freshman, first game, Jay-Sean Jones. Throws a pass for a touchdown, catches one, and runs one. What did you see in this defense that you thought you could exploit with him?
I don't know if we saw anything that way. We ran our plays. We took our shots. Obviously, I did it, the sneak down there, put our defense in a bad spot. That was on me. But our kids played well. So we got good talent, and they did a great job.
All right, congratulations, Matt. Thank you.
Matt Canada said it. The grief is never going to go away. They're not asking it to go away. But as hard as it is, they were doing their best to focus on the right here, the right now, in order to honor Jordan. And right now, they had to continue to play. They did today and beat Texas for the second year in a row. 34-29, the final from Landover. Here's Mike Hill.